You know, every day here on the Thom Hartmann Program, Louise and I and our team, Sean, Nate, Shira, Dave, Chase, Sue, Nigel, Ron, we all work to put together the very, very best show we possibly can. And there's an enormous amount of work that goes into the show. And one of the things that comes out of that is a lot of content, a lot of specific information that we go through and we dig out and, you know, we want to share with you. And Sue puts that into our newsletter every week. And I think you will, if you don't already receive our newsletter, it comes in email every day, about an hour after we're off the air, or maybe a couple hours after we're off the air. And Sue goes through and pulls literally every link to every story that we talked about and puts it into the newsletter. It's free. We don't sell a list or anything. You complete safety and security. There's no charge. There's no nothing. Just, you know, plug in your email address over at thomhartmann.com. And you get signed up for the newsletter. It's all fairly obvious. You'll see it on the website. So check it out, thomhartmann.com. Thank you. So thanks so much to those of you who called in yesterday. We sort of hit our goal for the day yesterday, just barely, but we hit our goal for the day yesterday. But we've got a whole week behind us that was just a disaster. And as I said, it may well have been my fault. I don't know. I'm not sure. It may also be so many people are giving to Democratic candidates, and I totally understand that, right? I've been doing that myself, but Free Speech TV, we are so far behind on this fund drive. We're now at about 25% of where we should be right now. And so we're still deep in a hole. And without your help, this station could go black. I mean, it's just that's the reality. They've got to make payroll. They've got to pay for the electrons to get up to the satellite. They've got to pay rent. There are substantial costs. Well, substantial. I mean, you know, the entire network runs on a budget of, I think, $3 or $4 million a year, which is mind-boggling when you think about it. I mean, you know, just one show on MSNBC has a bigger budget than that. In fact, probably, you know, their star is paid more than that. But Free Speech TV runs on this shoestring, and they do so with your help. That's what keeps it going. And we've got to hit these goals. We just have to hit these goals. And so if you haven't already called Free Speech TV and made a contribution, please do so now. We are genuinely behind. And this is not a false alarm. It's, you know, we have to hit these goals. There's no other way to say it. So please call now, 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669, or go to freespeech.org and make your contribution. With a $20 gift, we have the new Trump toilet paper roll. You get one roll of Trump toilet paper, suitable for putting in the guest bathroom, right? Or in the bathroom when the guests come over and come out going, oh, that's very interesting. I'm not going to go any farther than that, I promise, in describing, what might come out of it. No pun intended. With a $50 gift, these are one-time gifts. With a $50 gift, you get the Trump toilet brush. Keep your toilet clean with Donald Trump's face. And with a $60 gift, you get both the Trump toilet paper roll and the Trump toilet brush with a stand. So that's kind of cool. That $60 gift, you get the completely redecorate your bathroom. Yeah. With a $120 gift, you get an autographed copy of my new book, The Hidden History of Guns and the Second Amendment, which is why I'm in D.C. right now, why I was in New York last week, and why in the coming weeks I'll be in San Francisco, Los Angeles, Seattle, Chicago, Minneapolis, and Philadelphia, talking about this book. And I'm discovering that travel isn't as easy as it was 20 years ago. This slam bam, day after day. But I'm having a good time on this. But if you can't make it to one of my book signings, and I know most of you can't, here's a chance to get an actual autographed copy of The Hidden History of Guns and the Second Amendment, my new book. With a $20, that's a $120 one-time gift. With a $20 a month commitment for at least a year, that you get the Thom Hartmann Program stainless steel water bottle. It's $20 a month. With a $30 a month commitment, you get the Thom Hartmann Program, Democracy Begins With You stainless steel water bottle and the tote bag, the Thom Hartmann Program tote bag. That's with $30 a month. With $500 a month gift, we're going to have just it'll be a relatively small group of us, and we will have a private meeting on the internet. We'll be the only ones who can see it. It's not going to be broadcast or anything. And I'll be answering your questions and listening to your rants and your thoughts on this, that, and the other thing. And, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. That's with a $500 gift for the virtual, meet and greet is what we call it. With the $1,000 gift, you can either come to Portland, Oregon and hang out and watch us do the last hour of the show, and then, we'll go out to lunch. Or you can meet me in Philadelphia on July 12th. I'll be there for Netroots Nation. So meet and greet in Philadelphia. And that, by the way, if you show up in Philadelphia, there'll be appetizers and drinks and kind of a group cocktail table setting sort of thing. Doesn't include travel arrangements, I'm sorry. But those are the $1,000 gifts. But the bottom line is we need your help. This is serious. This is, ring the fire bell. We really need your help. Whatever you can give, please call now, 877-378-8669. This television network literally survives, continues because of your support. And without your support, it won't be here. And we're right on the edge of bringing in new programs and growing. Now we're on Apple TV, we're on Hulu, we're on Sling. And please tell your friends, by the way, there's all kinds of ways to get this network and my program. So please call now, 877-378-8669. Thank you.
Want to connect with the show online? You can find the Thom Hartmann Program on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
And greetings, my friends, patriots, lovers of democracy, truth, and justice, believers in peace, freedom, and the American way. Thom Hartmann here with you, broadcasting live from We Act Radio in Washington, D.C. today. As soon as I get off the air, I'm flying home to Portland, and tomorrow I will be at Powell's in Portland, the legendary bookstore at 7:30 p.m. on Burnside. And also tonight, this new climate change documentary that Lila Connors and George and Leonardo DiCaprio and I all worked on. I'm in it, and so is Leo. Premieres on HBO tonight. That's at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on HBO Go and HBO Now on demand. And if you're not an HBO subscriber, tomorrow, Wednesday, you'll be able to get it on either one of those places for free. It's an hour and a half documentary, and I think it's going to blow your mind. And tomorrow, the next day, if you want to call and talk about it, that will be a topic that will always be a good one. So a lot of things in the news today. Jeff Merkley, Maria Cantwell, and Ron Wyden are demanding in the Senate that Mitch McConnell allow a vote on net neutrality. It has passed the House. They want it, they want to vote in the Senate. Mitch McConnell, of course, is saying, no, I'd rather continue taking money from Comcast and AT&T and all these big companies that don't want net neutrality. They just want to basically screw us. But we'll see how that shakes out. I'm not real optimistic, but that's going on. But there's a couple things that I think are really serious, and I'd love you to weigh in on these. The first, and I'll just say this very simply, there's, today Biden and Trump, or Joe Biden and Donald Trump are both going to be in Iowa. And Biden is going after Trump in a big way. And Elizabeth Warren is gaining momentum. Bernie Sanders he's been dropping a couple points, but largely is holding his own. Pete Buttigieg is rocketing up in the polls, and Kamala Harris seems to be doing very well. Everybody else seems to be kind of settling down a little bit. But we'll see. I mean, at this point, nobody would have thought Jimmy Carter would be president. Nobody would have thought that the nominees would be, Pickett, right, Democrat or Republican. At this point, this far out from the election, at one point it looked like Rudy Giuliani was going to be the Republican nominee. I mean, it's just, it's been all over the map. So my question for you, if you'd like to call in, is who is your favorite among the Democratic nominees, or your top two, if you wish, and or your ideal, your dream ticket, and why? And please, let's not do any circular firing squads here. I don't want to hear your complaints about anybody else that you're not saying this is the person. In fact, I'll cut you off if you start doing that, because it's just not productive, particularly at this point in the game, for us to be sitting around complaining about Democrats. One of these people is going to be our Democratic nominee for president, and in all probability, one of them is going to be our vice presidential nominee for president. And let's try to keep it clean, as they say. So there's that. And, the number 202-808-9925, if you want to weigh in on who you would like to see. We've been doing this every couple of weeks, maybe every 2 or 3 weeks, asking people who their candidate is. As we get a little closer, we'll start doing the flash polls, where we just take call after call after call, and you've got, 5 seconds to throw a name out. But it's a little more difficult, in particular, for me to do when I'm on the road. But your thoughts on that. And number two, I want to point out to you something that really it surprised me and it didn't surprise me. And that is Hillary Clinton yesterday, I believe it was, gave a talk, and she said, in fact, I'll read from her speech. She said, and so I think Madeleine Albright's book is really well named, Fascism, a Warning. And the idea, now keep in mind, this is Hillary Clinton, so this is the establishment of the Democratic Party. I mean, the more, the less likely to go what you might call alarmist. I would think. She says, and the idea that it can't happen here is just old-fashioned, my friends. So there is so much at stake, and so much that people should be trying to sort through for themselves, and perhaps joining for action together to speak out. I am a very worried optimist. Again, I'm quoting Hillary Clinton here. I'm a very worried optimist because there seems to be no staying power for a lot of these really serious threats. And that is part of the strategy. You do something today that is even more outrageous than what you did yesterday. You say something that is totally beyond the pale of what should be expected from any public official. And so what happened yesterday is so quickly lost in what is happening today. And this goes way beyond party. And then she goes on to say more than 1,000 former prosecutors appointed by Republicans and Democrats all said these incidents are related in Mueller. The second half of his report clearly amount to indictable obstruction of justice charges. And there are so many Republicans who are speaking out and organizing to try to sound the alarm, but not enough of us. And that means regardless of party, whatever you are. So do you share Hillary Clinton's sense that fascism is coming to America? Are we even in the middle of it? I mean, I've many times over the years read to you and shared with you the book "It Can't Happen Here" by Milton Mayer. He went over to Germany, and while he was there, he in fact he was there for a year. This is right after World War II, and he sort of lived with or hung out with so much that he virtually lived with 10, quote, good Germans. These were all people who were not in the military. They were not party members. They weren't all gung-ho. One was a bricklayer, one was a baker, one was a college professor. I don't remember all the different professions. And the message that they all conveyed over and over and over again was, it happened, it was like every day was a new outrage. I remember, I don't have the copy right in front of me. It's back in the studio in Portland. But, I've read it enough times over the years on the air. Every day was a new outrage. There was constantly a distraction. Whenever anything happened that should alarm us, there was some breaking story about some new thing that Hitler was doing that just, threw the news into a spin. And at a certain point, and this was the college professor, he said, at a certain point, the institutions are all still there. The opera is still, they're still singing at the opera, and the theater is still playing movies, and you can still get a sandwich at the local restaurant. All the institutions of the churches are open. All the institutions are there, and the government seems to be functioning, but the spirit is gone. And in fact, you no longer live in a democracy. You live in a world of fear and dread, and thus the rise of fascism. And I see so many parallels to that, and I think that Hillary Clinton is absolutely right on this. And Madeleine Albright, of course, she's quoting Albright's book, and Madeleine Albright should know. I mean, members of her family perished in the Holocaust. So I'm curious your thoughts on how far down that road we are and what we should do about it. I think we're quite a ways down that road, frankly. And I think that what we need to do about it is we need to start calling people out. We need to hold people responsible. The Democrats need to start taking names and kicking ass in the House and the Senate. And we need to wake the American people up. So we'll be back with your calls after this.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
So who are your favorite Democrats and why, without knocking anybody else, please? And do you think we're down the road to fascism? Oh, and I got a cat story for you, too. Okay. And welcome back. Let's see here. Justin in Bremerton, Washington. Hey, Justin, you have a favorite Democrat?
Yes. Hi, good morning, Tom, and thank you for teaching us and doing all that you do. And I'll be seeing you at Town Hall in Seattle in a few weeks.
Oh, great. Great.
Yeah, so thank you for doing that. Okay, I just want to chime in on the straw poll here. I think it's inevitable that it's going to be Biden and Harris. I think that to just the average American out there, Biden is the sane, calm one. Talks softly, carries a big stick kind of guy. And Harris, it's pretty inevitable at this point, I believe, that a female and much less female minority, mixed minority, needs to be on the ticket. On top of that, she has a prosecutor's tongue. So I think that would be interesting of her just going after Trump on more of a national stage. Other than that, though, I just want to chime in here, and I'll take your comments off the air. I think, Warren is great.
Justin, before you move on to another topic, and by the way, just so everybody, there's that 1 second delay that we get when I'm on remote. So, sometimes we talk over each other. My apologies for it.
Sure.
But you said you think it's going to be Biden and Harris. And, there's a lot of pundits are saying the same thing. But who would you prefer? Who would you love it to be?
Oh, man.
Or is that the ticket that you'd really love to see?
That's a ticket that I can't say love, but I don't think I have have an ideal candidate unless you want to resurrect FDR. But I think Biden. I think that he is actually good at.
So that is your
throwing
favorite.
in the. Well, he gets the center vote. He gets the center-left vote. He very well might get the silent majority vote. And again, I think that he's going to come off as
so
the
you were
sane,
moving
rational
along.
one. Right. With Warren, love her. She's great, but I think that she's going to be more beneficial to the Democratic Party staying as the Senate, or if the Democrat does get into office in 2020, and if it's not her, I think that she would make an amazing Secretary of Education.
Okay. And then were you making another point, or are we done?
Yeah, my last point here. Jay Inslee, I'm from Washington State. Voted for him twice for governor. I believe if a Democrat does get into office in 2020, he would make a very effective Secretary of Energy, and I believe that's where a strong point would be. And other than that, I'll just take your comment off air, and thank you again for taking the call.
Okay. No, I think you're right, Justin. Thank you very much for the call. I'm not offering my opinion on my favorite ticket. I don't want to pollute the idea pool out here. Lisa in Windsor, California. Hey, Lisa, your thoughts? Thanks for watching Free Speech.
You bet. Thanks, Tom. What I was wondering.
Oh, hey, Lisa. I'm sorry. Let me just put you on hold here. I just got a 5-second cue. I'm sorry. I completely missed the time on this. I'll pick you up right after we get off. Right after the break. We'll be right back. It's the Thom Hartmann Program, broadcasting live from Washington. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. I promised you a cat story, but I think I'm going to hold on to this until maybe the next hour. So we'll just continue taking your phone calls. Lisa in Windsor, California. Hey, Lisa, thanks for calling. What's on your mind?
Thanks, Tom. Okay, I have a question for you, real quick. The way the Democrats choose their candidates just recently changed, and can you explain to me? All of a sudden now, I'm getting emails from people like Cory Booker, blah blah blah, for $1 donations, because apparently they are saying they need more $1 donations so they can make it to the stage, right? For the debate.
Well, there's two levels of that. The first two debates, you've got to have 35,000 donors. If you want to get into the third debate, I think it's 120,000, as I recall, donors in at least 20 states, or maybe all 50.
They already had that 3-tiered complicated system in place.
No, they changed. When they holy cow, we've got 20 people or more, who are hitting this. I think it was originally 6. Yeah, they should have. I agree.
Yeah, that's dumb.
Well, I think, frankly, they were surprised that so many people were able to get $65,000 in more than 20 states to give them money. I mean, that's a real testimonial to enthusiasm.
They didn't pay any attention to Bernie or anybody else last time, right? I mean, I'm just frustrated. I'm sorry, Tom. But anyway, so I was just curious. They did actually now have to figure out a new tiered system because there's so many. Is that what you're telling me?
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct. For the third debate,
Could you just one more time mention tomorrow instead of HBO? When can we see that movie?
It'll also be on HBO, on HBO Go, at HBO Now, and I subscribe to HBO, and I don't know what those things are. I think like one is an app or something, and the other's but they should be easy to find, or just plain old HBO. If you have a HBO subscription, you can watch it tonight. If you don't, it'll be wherever, it'll be in the same place. It'll be at HBO, probably just HBO.com, and track it down, and it'll be free to see tomorrow. So
Thank you, Tom.
The movie is named Ice on Fire. Thank you, Lisa. Great to hear from you. I do appreciate it. Hap in Kingman, Arizona. Hey, Hap, what's up?
Hey, Tom, how are you doing, bud? I just wanted to enter this.
And by the way, Hap, if I could just toss in here, so that everybody knows, I forgot to mention it at the beginning of the show. When I'm on remote like this, there's about a 1 second delay in the audio. And so, we end up talking on top of each other or over each other. And my apologies for that. But, if there's a little gap there, it's all good. So, Hap, it's yours.
Okay. I've been watching your show for years, and I love Bernie. I love an honest man, and I just think he's great for our country. His wisdom, he's been around for so long, and I tell you what, he steered the ship to the left, and what we needed. We can't keep going right. It's crazy. But anyway, I like Bernie, and I like them all. They're all great, but I'm hoping for Bernie, and I'll support anybody that gets in there. And that's it.
I was, thank you, Hap. Last night I was, Ron Williams, the president of Free Speech TV, came to my book signing last night here in Washington, D.C., and we had a drink afterwards. And, he was like, who do you think you're going to vote for? And I said, if they resurrected Richard Nixon, I'd vote for him right now. It's sort of half tongue-in-cheek, but at least Richard Nixon knew how to run a government. Yeah, he was a crook, and he was corrupt, and he was taking bribes and everything else, but he wasn't a full-blown, well, maybe he was a full-blown fascist, I don't know, but dealing with Donald Trump, whoever wins the Democratic nomination, I'm going to work my butt off for. And I hope all the rest of us are. Elizabeth in Lowell, Massachusetts. Hey, Elizabeth, your thoughts on fascism?
Hey, Tom, your question about fascism. Yes, I think we're living it. And my choices for president and vice president is Elizabeth Warren and Mayor Pete.
Oh, that's interesting. You think that would make a good ticket?
I do.
Yeah. Now, I was having a conversation with somebody in Los Angeles a couple days ago, and I said that, I'm hearing from a lot of progressives that they'd like to see a ticket of Warren and Harris, for example, or Warren and Buttigieg, or Harris and Warren, or whatever. And but in particular, and some people, I've actually had people, in fact, another fellow down where I used to live, here in D.C., made the comment to me that America is not ready to elect two women. Or a woman and a gay man. And I told him the story about how back in 2008, on this program, we had, I think he was the number 2 guy in the California Democratic Party. It might have been one of the regional parts of California, brilliant young black man. And he came on the program and he said, we all have to vote for Hillary Clinton. And I was like, why? And he said, because America will never elect a black man as president. And he said, I know, I'm a black man. Take my word for it. And sure enough, we got Barack Obama. So what do you think about, a woman and a gay man, which is what you were just suggesting on the ticket?
Well,
do you think America is enough past their bigotry that could work?
Well, I think it can work because of who the gay man is. He's an excellent communicator. He's look where he's mayor. They are certainly not accepting of homosexuality, but they elected him mayor twice. I think he's
and it's a bright red state. I don't know
orator. I think that he is middle of the road politically. Elizabeth has, because I'm from Massachusetts, is irrelevant. She's got a plan for every idea that she has, and that's impressive. She's impressive. She's they're faulting her for the amount of money she made as a lawyer because she demanded the same kind of money other impressive lawyers were making.
Yeah, because she's that good. She's that good. Elizabeth, thank you. That was
great. Call 202-808-9925.
We'll be back. We're kind of hashing out the Democratic field right now. And we'll be back with more of your calls in just a moment. Thom Hartmann here live from D.C.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
It's the Mueller Report. This is page 84. They're talking about George Papadopoulos. Following his meeting with So thanks so much to those of you who called in yesterday. We sort of hit our goal for the day yesterday, just barely, but we hit our goal for the day yesterday. But we've got a whole week behind us that was just a disaster. And as I said, it may well have been my fault. I don't know. I'm not sure. It may also be so many people are giving to Democratic candidates, and I totally understand that, right? I've been doing that myself, but Free Speech TV, we are so far behind on this fund drive. We're now at about 25% of where we should be right now. And so we're still deep in a hole. And without your help, this station could go black. I mean, it's just that's the reality. They've got to make payroll. They've got to pay for the electrons to get up to the satellite. They've got to pay rent. There are substantial costs. Well, substantial. I mean, the entire network runs on a budget of, I think, $3 or $4 million a year, which is mind-boggling when you think about it. I mean, just one show on MSNBC has a bigger budget than that. In fact, probably, their star is paid more than that. But but Free Speech TV runs on this shoestring, and they do so with your help. That's what keeps it going. And we've got to hit these goals. We just have to hit these goals. And so if you haven't already called Free Speech TV and made a contribution, please do so now. We are genuinely behind. And this is not a false alarm. It's, we have to hit these goals. There's no other way to say it. So please call now, 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669, or go to freespeech.org and make your contribution. With a $20 gift, we have the new Trump toilet paper roll. You get one roll of Trump toilet paper, suitable for putting in the guest bathroom, right? Or in the bathroom when the guests come over and they'll come out going, oh, that's very interesting. I'm not going to go any farther than that, I promise, in describing, what might come out of it. No pun intended. With a $50 gift, these are one-time gifts. With a $50 gift, you get the Trump toilet brush. Keep your toilet clean with Donald Trump's face. And with a $60 gift, you get both the Trump toilet paper roll and the Trump toilet brush with a stand. So that's kind of cool. That $60 gift, you get the completely redecorate your bathroom. Yeah. With a $120 gift, you get an autographed copy of my new book, The Hidden History of Guns and the Second Amendment, which is why I'm in D.C. right now, why I was in New York last week, and why in the coming weeks I'll be in San Francisco, Los Angeles, Seattle, Chicago, Minneapolis, and Philadelphia, talking about this book. And I'm discovering that travel isn't as easy as it was 20 years ago. This slam bam, day after day. But I'm having a good time on this. But if you can't make it to one of my book signings, and I know most of you can't, here's a chance to get an actual autographed copy of The Hidden History of Guns and the Second Amendment, my new book. With a $20, that's a $120 one-time gift. With a $20 a month commitment for at least a year, that you get the Thom Hartmann Program stainless steel water bottle. It's $20 a month. With a $30 a month commitment, you get the Thom Hartmann Program, Democracy Begins With You stainless steel water bottle and the tote bag, the Thom Hartmann Program tote bag. That's with $30 a month. With $500 a month gift, we're going to have just it'll be a relatively small group of us, and we will have a private meeting on the internet. We'll be the only ones who can see it. It's not going to be broadcast or anything. And I'll be answering your questions and listening to your rants and your thoughts on this, that, and the other thing. And, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. That's with a $500 gift for the virtual, meet and greet is what we call it. With the $1,000 gift, you can either come to Portland, Oregon and hang out and watch us do the last hour of the show, and then, we'll go out to lunch. Or you can meet me in Philadelphia on July 12th. I'll be there for Netroots Nation. So meet and greet in Philadelphia. And that, by the way, if you show up in Philadelphia, there'll be appetizers and drinks and kind of a group cocktail table setting sort of thing. It doesn't include travel arrangements. I'm sorry, but those are the $1,000 gifts. But the bottom line is, we need your help. This is serious. This is, ring the fire bell. We really need your help. Whatever you can give, please call now. 877-378-8669. This television network literally survives, continues because of your support. And without your support, it won't be here. And we're right on the edge of bringing in new programs and growing. Now we're on Apple TV, we're on Hulu, we're on Sling. And please tell your friends, by the way, there's all kinds of ways to get this network and my program. So please call now, 877-378-8669. Thank you.
Want to connect with the show online? You can find the Thom Hartmann Program on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Guns in the South. I'll be in New York, Washington, D.C., Portland, Los Angeles, Seattle, San Francisco, Chicago, and Minneapolis. Here I come. More information is available at thomhartmann.com. And welcome back. And I'll be in Philadelphia, too, for Networks Nation on the 12th of July. But tomorrow night at 7 p.m., I believe, or 7:30, check your time. My computer has ceased to behave, so I can't look at it right now. I'll be at Portland in Portland at Powell's bookstore. So back to our conversations here. Oh, and Ice on Fire, the movie that I'm in, and Leo DiCaprio's narrating and produced, and Lila Connors directed. She was on our show yesterday afternoon. That movie is premiering tonight on HBO if you're an HBO subscriber, and if you're not an HBO subscriber, you can see it on HBO tomorrow night for free. So we'll talk about that. We're talking about your Democratic favorites and how you think a ticket can work. And Steve in Phoenix, Arizona. Hey, Steve, your thoughts?
Yes, Tom. Thanks again for having Alex on yesterday. He's such an important part of the Social Security and Medicare scheme. And also fascism, we're either there or four-fifths down the road to it. We're got one foot there. But what I wanted to vent a little bit about here is I'd like to see your show, Ice on Fire. But we've been longtime HBO subscribers for years. And the only reason I basically had it was to see the Bill Maher show on Friday night. Okay. Now, we've been blacked out since November 1st of 18, and part of the reason of this is HBO is owned by Time Warner, and then Time Warner got bought out by AT&T, and guess who AT&T owns? They own DirecTV. So what I think's going on here is AT&T, since they own DirecTV, this is part of the, like the airline mergers and stuff. They're trying to squeeze Dish Network out of business, possibly.
Huh. Oh, geez. Yeah, this is the problem, Steve, with these corporate monopolies, and I'm with you on that. But I'd like to stay on the topic of, who are your favorite Democrats for right now. But, I get it. They do have an online presence, and there is an HBO Go and an HBO Now app, at least in the iPhone store, because I've put them on my iPhone, and so you should be able to get the show, on a computer or on an app if you can't get it over your TV. Steve in Pasadena, California, your thoughts on the Democratic primary?
That must be me. I'm in Palmdale, California.
Oh, Palmdale. I'm sorry. Yeah, the type is really, really tiny here, and it's hard for me to read.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
That's okay. Well, I wanted to register my choice, and I choose Elizabeth Warren as the candidate, as the nominee. I worked on the Bernie campaign in my community, and that was largely because of the decades I'd been hearing him speak on your program, and thank you for your program. But I think the GOP has had too long to register blows against him that will resonate even with the good Republicans, and it will work against him. I think Elizabeth Warren has a fantastic record. I listened to her on shows before she entered government, and her ideas were terrific. And then they were interpreted by her work on the CFPB, where she did something that no other candidate that's in the running right now was able to do. She accomplished something that was purely a benefit to America in many ways, and that nobody else can point to as such a great boon and just a wonderful example of her thinking turned into action.
And that was?
The CFPB. She not only
the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, right? Which Trump is trying to strip right now.
Which should be a much bigger subject in discussions. As for a vice president,
Steve,
yeah.
Well, that was my question, Vice President.
The previous caller who mentioned Pete Buttigieg is, I think that's right now. Things will change later, but right now, that looks like a great idea. I like him.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate the call, Steve. And let's see here, Therese. Is it Therese or Teresa? I can't quite tell if that's an A or an E in Mount Shasta, California.
Good morning. This is Susan. I'm in Mount Shasta, California. And I want to say that I love Elizabeth Warren, but I really don't understand demographics and statistics, but I really like when I listen to what Pete Buttigieg, if people would just listen to what he says, he's brilliant. And I really like Kamala Harris. Now, I love Elizabeth Warren, but I'm trying to figure out what do I believe, who are going to be the voters. And what concerns me is that we have a lot of young people. And even though I love Bernie and I have respect for Joe Biden, I don't think they're the ones that are going to bring together all of the new youthful vote. And my only request is that people, because of apathy, that each person ask 5 people if they're registered to vote.
Yes, amen. And if they're not, help them figure out how to get registered to vote.
I think the biggest problem we have is apathy, and if we can wake people up before the next election, we can possibly, but we need everybody registered. Thank you.
And thank you very much, Therese. And I think that's one of the reasons why, frankly, the Democrats, why we should all be thinking about who's the candidate who is going to excite us, not necessarily who's the candidate that, some guy on TV said can beat Trump. Electability is important, but I don't think that there's maybe one or two where it would be kind of a challenge. But I don't think that out of the 20, more or less, the Democratic candidates, there's anybody there who's seriously unelectable. Colleen in Manorville, New York. Colleen, you're on the air.
Yes. Hi, Tom. How are you? Good to see you going on your tour, and I'm glad that you've had so much success. Now, been listening, while I'm on mute on my TV to all the people who've been calling in. And, there's a lot of valid points. But at the end of the day, I know that Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren are the two most, I want to say, complete policy people. And I feel like, there's a lot of, we should elect a gay, we should elect a woman, we should elect this, and, this is what's going to fulfill the, I want to say, the dreams of the Democratic progressives. But I'm really looking at policy and stamina and, the stability that somebody like Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren bring to the party. I don't care which one is the primary candidate and which one is the vice presidential candidate. It matters to me not at all. I think those are the two best people coming out of this 20-something number of folks that are currently being considered.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Colleen. I appreciate that. The black community is a good chunk. I think it's, maybe as much as a quarter of the Democratic base. And that's another consideration too, is, you know, who's going to excite, but that kind of gets into the electability thing. So anyhow, I'm interested in who you're excited about. Eileen in, is it Oman by the Sea, Florida?
It's Ormond by the Sea.
Ormond. Okay, what's up?
Yes. I'm going to vote for Bernie, Elizabeth, or Kamala Harris, because I do believe that their policies and their courage and, you know, the way they move forward instead of backwards all the time is a great thing for America, because that's where we need to go, is into the future with the young people, the wonderful, wonderful young people of this country. And I don't care what color they are, or, you know, whether they're a woman or a man, just their policy that matters the most to me. And what are they going to do to engage us into the future with the rest of the world? The world is our neighbor. We're all on the same planet. We all have to love each other and figure out how to go forward with the climate and all that.
Great.
So,
Eileen, I need to move along. I just got a 1 minute cue here, so I want to get, you know, another caller in just before the break. And Julian in Los Angeles, listening on KPFK. Your picks?
Hi. Yeah. So just can I say one thing before my picks? I really love that people are talking about policy as opposed to just identity politics, because I think it's really important to look at people's policy, but not only the policy they're pushing forward, but also their record, and if they actually have the actions behind them to push the policy that they're saying. And for my picks, yeah, Bernie and Warren for sure. Or I know that she's like not running at all, but Bernie Sanders and Nina Turner, I think would be amazing, because you do have then somebody to advocate for the Black and POC community.
Yeah, Nina Turner is amazing. Louise and I had dinner with her and her husband a year or so ago, a couple of years ago actually, and got to know her. And I think she is one of the smartest politicians I've ever met, and seriously, genuinely, one of the most decent human beings I've ever met. It's unfortunate she's not running, because I think Nina Turner's really got something. Julian, thank you for the call. Thanks for your
You're
comments.
listening
We'll be
to
back.
Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
We're sorting out the Democratic field, and we're also talking about Hillary Clinton's comment that, you know, fascism is coming, or might be coming to the United States. Or is it here already? And welcome back. Christian in Spooner, Wisconsin. Christian, you're on the air. Thanks for watching Free Speech.
Sanders for sure, because he won my state last time. He almost won the nomination with one hand tied behind his back, and also like Warren and Tulsi. On policy alone, you look at the voting records. That's all I really got, man. Sanders, Warren, or a lot of people don't mention it, but Tulsi on foreign policy is awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I think, you know, thank you very much. I cannot disagree with that. Nor would I want to. Lauren in Seattle. Hey, Lauren, your dream ticket?
Hi. My dream ticket, well, I love Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and Jay Inslee. My dream ticket is Jay Inslee and Stacey Abrams. That's my dream ticket.
Yeah, I don't, you know, Stacey's not running for president, and she's also not running for the Senate in Georgia, which has me scratching my head. I mean, I think she could walk away with that.
Absolutely.
You know, there's a number of Democratic candidates who are running for president instead of for Senate when they could just be picking up the Senate.
Yeah.
I think that's very unfortunate, but yeah,
And
I'm
I
with
want
you.
to say that.
Lauren, thank you for the call. Oh, I'm sorry, Lauren. I hit the button and there's a slight delay between here and there on even dropping a call. So my apologies, Lauren, for not letting you finish your thoughts. I didn't realize that was coming. Tim in Aloha, Oregon. Hey, Tim, your thoughts?
Yeah, you know, I think the logical choice based on generational configuration would, and then we talked about this before, Tom, about a month ago, would be the perfect ticket, I think, in relation to what votes they could get, would be Bernie and Buttigieg. because of who they cover, their communication abilities, Bernie's honesty with the middle class for decades, basically. It's the logical choice right now, I think. But anything can transpire in the next few months. But I think that is going to draw a base that can really stick with the voters. And then as far as this fascism situation, well, look at the statistics from the Southern Poverty Law Center. What's happening in this country? It's getting scary. The Republicans are trying to destroy women's reproductive rights, the environment, public education, consumer rights. It's scary stuff. And every time Trump opens his mouth in the morning, and when he's on his Twitters, he's hollering fire in a crowded theater. That's what's happening. And I hope people start to begin to realize that, because we'll get to a point where we won't have any choices if that guy maintains. And the fact that we can even talk about him as a presidential candidate on what's transpired in the last 2.5 years, that's scary. And that's a lot of misinformation that's going on in this country. And that about covers it.
Okay, I'm with you, Jim. Thank you very much for the call. Let's see here. Lowell in Salem, Oregon. Hey, Lowell. We have 30 seconds. Your picks?
My picks would be Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard, and it's time to end this lie that they keep saying about Tulsi being a right-wing BJP Hindu nationalist, because that's just Hindu phobia.
Yeah. But it does raise the question. So can somebody who is, we've never had a Jewish president, which is, I think, probably the second largest minority religion. Can somebody who's Hindu be elected president? I think anything's possible these days. But her position on war in particular, since she was a soldier and she saw war, is something that needs more people need to be listening to. Lowell, thank you for the call. We'll be right back. We're filtering out, sorting out, talking about, thinking about the Democratic ticket. And welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. We're discussing the Democratic field, and we're also talking about, fascism in America and what it means, and is it here, and how might it play out. Frankly, the number one thing in my mind that tells me that we are moving in a fascist direction is the Trump administration's refusal to cooperate with Congress. They're arguing now that Congress quite literally does not have the right to investigate a president of the United States. And then people come along and say, well, what about Whitewater? They investigated Bill Clinton for 6 years. What about Watergate? They investigated, Richard Nixon. Neither of those started out as impeachment inquiries. They both started out as investigations. And Trump's answer basically is twofold. Number one is those guys were wusses. They should have fought back, and they should have said, no, Congress, you can't do this. And number two, he has said, and this is a quote, Nixon left. I'm not going to leave. Let that sink in for a minute. So this concerns me tremendously. Gary in Los Angeles, listening on KPFK. Your thoughts on the Democratic Party?
Hi, Tom. Thanks for taking my call. Right now, I'm thinking Elizabeth Warren and Jay Inslee. I just heard Amy Goodman's interview with Jay Inslee on Democracy Now! This morning, and he was very impressive, especially on global warming, which is really the key crisis that we need to face. And with your comments about fascism in America, I would also highly recommend that people go into the KPFK archives and listen to Roy of Hollywood's What's Happening on early Tuesday mornings. He's been airing Danny Sheehan talking about what's really going on in regards to the oil industry and control of the world economy, et cetera. Really fascinating talks. But that's my 2 cents worth.
Yeah. Thank you, Gary. Yeah, Roy's show precedes ours on KPFK, and if you're in the Los Angeles area, his show is must-listen radio and has been for years and years. He does such a great job.
It's online also at KPFK.
Whoop. I'm sorry. There we go again. I think he's saying it's also on kpfk.org if you're outside Los Angeles. I'm pretty sure that that's where he was going with that. The delay caught me there. My apologies. Is it Haley or Hallie in Mora, New Mexico?
It's Haley.
Hey, Haley, your thoughts?
Yeah, so I've been listening to everyone talking, and I'm hearing a lot of Warren and Bernie Sanders. And, I think 4 years ago, I would have been someone that was for them. But I've just fallen in love with Andrew Yang and his policy and his ideas. And I feel like we need to have more of a discussion about the technological future of this country, and so that we have more leadership there instead of allowing technocrats to lead from behind.
Yeah. And if he's not president, I sure hope he ends up in the cabinet of whoever is.
Oh, yeah, I totally think that that's an important thing, that, he gets a cabinet position. And I think that a lot of people are kind of calling him an alt-right kind of candidate, but he's highly liberal. And one of my biggest concerns going into this next election cycle is that we're going to start looking for purity tests. And I think that if there's going to be any kind of liberal or democratic victory, it's going to have to take in a lot of the working class and not exclude them. And I think that his dialogue has been doing that, and there needs to be that kind of discussion about working class and poverty issues.
Right. So if he's at the top of the ticket, who would you see as vice president?
I can't even look that far into the future, especially because that thing that Hillary did last time when she chose her running mate, I think that that's what stung her in the end, is that no one was excited about him. And I think that it's probably best to let it play out and to pick someone who's a front runner in the field, whoever it is, and to double up the ticket.
Yeah, that's wise. Haley, thank you very much for the call. Jared in Downingtown, Pennsylvania. Jared, you're on the air.
Yes, hello, Tom. Let me go into a quiet spot because I'm just shopping here. For the 2020 Democratic candidate pick, it needs to be either Bernie Sanders, Tulsi Gabbard, or Mike Gravel. Those are the three acceptable candidates I find, because there's one issue that really matters. Well, there's actually two, but the one that's really important for the survival of the human race is climate change. And we just have got to do something about climate change. And I think a good ticket vice president would be a climate change scientist as the vice president. Have somebody go out there and explain to the American public, people, explain to them, because he's a scientist.
Michael Mann.
Like what? Yeah, like Michael Mann or somebody like that. I mean, we need to be going 24/7 on this and pounding it in people's heads.
Well, how about as an alternative to that, Jared, we lobby the, if we are fortunate enough to get a Democratic president and vice president, that we lobby them to create a brand new cabinet agency separate from the EPA that's the agency of the of the atmosphere as opposed to the environment, because the EPA deals with species and all kinds of other things, and climate change, just the whole thing of carbon in the atmosphere, and put somebody in charge of that. And also, I didn't know Mike Gravel was, I don't think he's gotten the 65,000 donations that he needs.
I'm not sure either, but for the debates, but I still think he's a really good candidate that we should get behind.
Yeah. Okay. Jared, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Ken in Great Falls, Montana. We have 30 seconds here, Ken. Your thoughts on the tickets?
Yeah, it'd be Warren for president because she's so intelligent. She can handle the corporations and the economy. You make Mike that Inslee the vice president, a working vice president who would be in charge of the climate change. He's really got the good ideas on that.
Yeah, Jay Inslee. Yeah. Yeah, climate change is shaping up as a major existential threat. That's why we made this movie. It's been 3 years in the making. Ice on Fire on HBO tonight and tomorrow night. Yep. And Jay Inslee is just doing a marvelous job of pounding that drum and talking about that. Ken, thank you for the call. And I think people in the Midwest are starting to figure out. I mean, the refugees coming out of Central America, in large part, are coming because of climate change. It's wiping out their crop yields.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
So thanks so much to those of you who called in yesterday. We sort of hit our goal for the day yesterday, just barely, but we hit our goal for the day yesterday. But we've got a whole week behind us that was just a disaster. And as I said, it may well have been my fault. I don't know. I'm not sure. It may also be so many people are giving to Democratic candidates, and I totally understand that, right? I've been doing that myself, but Free Speech TV, we are so far behind on this fund drive. We're now at about 25% of where we should be right now. And so we're still deep, deep, deep in a hole. And without your help, this station could go black. I mean, it's just that's the reality. They've got to make payroll. They've got to pay for the electrons to get up to the satellite. They've got to pay rent. There are substantial costs. Well, substantial. I mean, the entire network runs on a budget of, I think, $3 or $4 million a year, which is mind-boggling when you think about it. I mean, just one show on MSNBC has a bigger budget than that. In fact, probably, their star is paid more than that. But Free Speech TV runs on this shoestring, and they do so with your help. That's what keeps it going. And we've got to hit these goals. We just have to hit these goals. And so if you haven't already called Free Speech TV and made a contribution, please do so now. We are genuinely behind. And this is not a false alarm. We have to hit these goals. There's no other way to say it. So please call now, 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669, or go to freespeech.org and make your contribution. With a $20 gift, we have the new Trump toilet paper roll. You get one roll of Trump toilet paper, suitable for putting in the guest bathroom, right? Or in the bathroom when the guests come over and come out going, oh, that's very interesting. I'm not going to go any farther than that, I promise, in describing, what might come out of it. No pun intended. With a $50 gift, these are one-time gifts. With a $50 gift, you get the Trump toilet brush. Keep your toilet clean with Donald Trump's face. And with a $60 gift, you get both the Trump toilet paper roll and the Trump toilet brush with a stand. So that's kind of cool. That $60 gift, you get the completely redecorate your bathroom. Yeah. With a $120 gift, you get an autographed copy of my new book, The Hidden History of Guns and the Second Amendment, which is why I'm in D.C. right now, why I was in New York last week, and why in the coming weeks I'll be in San Francisco, Los Angeles, Seattle, Chicago, Minneapolis, and Philadelphia, talking about this book. And I'm discovering that travel isn't as easy as it was 20 years ago. This slam bam, day after day. But I'm having a good time on this. But if you can't make it to one of my book signings, and I know most of you can't, here's a chance to get an actual autographed copy of The Hidden History of Guns and the Second Amendment, my new book. With a $20, that's a $120 one-time gift. With a $20 a month commitment for at least a year, that you get the Thom Hartmann Program stainless steel water bottle. It's $20 a month. With a $30 a month commitment, you get the Thom Hartmann Program, Democracy Begins With You stainless steel water bottle and the tote bag, the Thom Hartmann Program tote bag. That's with $30 a month. With $500 a month gift, we're going to have just it'll be a relatively small group of us, and we will have a private meeting on the internet. We'll be the only ones who can see it. It's not going to be broadcast or anything. And I'll be answering your questions and listening to your rants and your thoughts on this, that, and the other thing. And, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. That's with a $500 gift for the virtual, meet and greet is what we call it. With the $1,000 gift, you can either come to Portland, Oregon and hang out and watch us do the last hour of the show, and then, we'll go out to lunch. Or you can meet me in Philadelphia on July 12th. I'll be there for Netroots Nation. So meet and greet in Philadelphia. And that, by the way, if you show up in Philadelphia, there'll be appetizers and drinks and you know, kind of a group cocktail table setting sort of thing. Doesn't include travel arrangements. I'm sorry, but those are the $1,000 gifts. But the bottom line is, we need your help. This is serious. This is, you know, ring the fire bell. We really need your help. Whatever you can give, please call now. 877-378-8669. This television network literally survives, continues because of your support. And without your support, it won't be here. And we're right on the edge of bringing in new programs and you know, growing. Now we're on Apple TV, we're on Hulu, we're on Sling. And please tell your friends, by the way, there's all kinds of ways to get this network and my program. So please call now, 877-378-8669. Thank you. You know, every day here on the Thom Hartmann Program, Louise and I and our team, Sean, Nate, Shira, Dave, Chase, Sue, Nigel, Ron, we all work to put together the very, very best show we possibly can. And there's an enormous amount of work that goes into the show. And one of the things that comes out of that is a lot of content, a lot of specific information that we go through and we dig out and, you know, we want to share with you. And Sue puts that into our newsletter every week. And I think you will, if you don't already receive our newsletter, it comes in email every day, about an hour after we're off the air, or maybe a couple hours after we're off the air. And Sue goes through and pulls literally every link to every story that we talked about and puts it into the newsletter. It's free. We don't sell a list or anything. You complete safety and security. There's no charge. There's no nothing. Just, you know, plug in your email address over at thomhartmann.com and you get signed up for the newsletter. It's all fairly obvious. You'll see it on the website. So check it out, thomhartmann.com. Thank you.
Want to connect with the show online? You can find the Thom Hartmann Program on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
It's the Mueller.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
And welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. We've been talking about a couple of things here. The fact that cats are Democrats, right? They're not like dogs where you tell them what to do and they do, and cats don't, you know, discriminate based on, you know, the color of the cat's fur and all that kind of. We've been talking about that. We've been talking about how Hillary Clinton. This is really quite remarkable. Hillary Clinton gave a speech last night in which she was citing the book by the former Secretary of State Madeleine Albright, in which and the title of the book is, you know, Fascism. And Hillary Clinton said, this is something we need to take very seriously. I mean, this may well be coming to America. I think that when you look at what is happening right now, you know, in the Republican administration, where they're basically saying, no, Congress does not have the right or the power to investigate the president, period. And then people say, well, you know, what about the 6 years that you Republicans in Congress spent investigating Bill Clinton or the 2 years that you spent investigating, this is before the impeachment inquiry, investigating Richard Nixon? And Trump's response is they were wusses, Bill Clinton and Richard Nixon, which is the kind of thing that an authoritarian would say. Oh, somebody who goes along with the system, they're wusses. I'm just going to ignore the system. In fact, Trump said, you know, Nixon left, I won't leave. I mean, these are all recent quotes. This is, I mean, like this week. I mean, this is startling stuff. So are we in the jaws of a fascist administration? And what does that mean for the 2020 election? Number one. And number two, who would you like to see on the ticket, on the Democratic ticket? We're doing, I wouldn't call it a straw poll, because when we do the straw polls, we go through them really, really fast, and I just can't do that when I'm on the road. And I'm here live in Washington, D.C. today. But I am asking you, who are your picks for the top of the ticket and for vice president, or, you know, two people that could be either one, you know, either or, and why? And please don't trash somebody else. We're not playing the circular firing squad here. It's not, you know, you know, if somebody goes off in that direction, I'll just take them off the air. We can't afford to be harming our own. And any of these people who are serious candidates, and there's quite a few of them, you know, one of them is going to end up the Democratic nominee, virtual certainty, and at least a 50-50 chance that, and probably more like a 75% chance that one of them is going to end up the vice presidential nominee. So who would you like to see for president and why? Who would you like to see for vice president and why? How do you think the ticket should be constructed? How would it work? And how does that help prevent us from sliding into a fascist state, given what's going on right now? And given the fact that, you know, we're not talking about things like, you know, how the Interior Department now, Trump's Interior Department, is selling off federal lands for oil drilling and mining, you know, and ruining our national parks and things like that. We're not talking about how the Environmental Protection Agency is firing scientists and refusing to talk about science and things like that. We're not talking about how the EPA. We're not talking about how education. We're not talking about how Betsy DeVos is trying to mess with our education system. You know, we're not, and it's a real tragedy. So we're taking your calls on those topics. And, oh, by the way, just a couple of news things. The House just voted to hold Bill Barr, the Attorney General, in contempt. This was a resolution rather than a criminal contempt citation. A criminal contempt citation would go to a court. The court would adjudicate it and then tell Barr whether he has to show up before Congress or not, and what the penalties might be for you know, because it is a crime to be in contempt of Congress. The Democrats have decided not to go quite that far because Barr he threw them some small bones. You know, okay, I'll give you some papers. I still think they should be going for criminal contempt, but you know, I'm not running the House of Representatives, and I'm willing to defer to Nancy Pelosi's wisdom on this. I think that she's a much smarter politician than I am. I mean, I'm not a politician, but she understands this stuff and has been doing it forever, and really knows where the bodies are buried. A couple of other news things that I wanted to mention to you. Tonight is the premiere of Ice on Fire. If you caught the third hour of our program, the very end of the show yesterday, we had Lila Connors on, who's the director of the show. Leo DiCaprio and George, his father, are the producers. I'm in the show. I was a consultant to the show. I helped write parts of it and played a role. I traveled with them to Norway. We shot some great stuff there at the Institute in Norway. I traveled with them to Louise and I, in fact, in both cases, traveled with them down to Costa Rica to shoot rainforest stuff. And Janine Benyus, we interviewed her there. She's the biomimicry person. She's absolutely brilliant. She's in the movie. I'm in the movie. There's Peter Wadhams, the climate scientist, who is so often over at arctic-news.blogspot.com. It's a solid movie. And tonight, if you're an HBO subscriber, you can watch it. And if you're not an HBO subscriber, tomorrow night, you can also watch it outside the paywall. So on HBO Go and HBO Now. So, you know, that's the broad spectrum of the news that we're talking about today. I'm live here in Washington, D.C. I'm doing the book tour. Last night we were at Busboys and Poets. We had a packed house. Kimon Freeman, who is here at We Act Radio, he introduced me. It was such an honor to be introduced by Kimon. We're having a good time. So, and tomorrow night I'll be at Powell's in Portland, Oregon at 7:30, I believe it is. And correct me in my ear, Sean, if I'm wrong on that, but I think it's 7:30. And so, so anyhow, let's pick up your phone calls and see what you're thinking about around, you know, any or all of these issues. Norma in Inverness, Florida. Hey, Norma, what's on your mind?
Well, I have two things. First of all, you said not to use names or anything, but I want to talk about the polls. I watched a poll last night, and the top runner was at 24%, and then the next three were at 17, 16, and 14. If you add up the 17, 16, and 14, it means that many people don't want the top runner. So people have to get out and vote for who they want.
I mean, you're not attacking Joe Biden here. You're just pointing out the statistics of it, and I get that. I don't mind if you name a name. I just don't want somebody going on and saying, I don't like so and so because he did such and such. It's there's no value in that. But you're right, Norma. I mean, Joe Biden is the front runner according to the polls right now, but he's way below 50%. So anything could happen. Absolutely anything could happen. And that's no negative reflection on Joe Biden. That's just the way it is. So what's your dream ticket, Norma?
Well, I like Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders both, and either one of them could be president or vice president. And if someone falls down in the polls and someone comes up, I think that they ought to take the top two. And that's who I'm voting for, is the top two.
Yeah.
But not Biden.
Okay. And now you're dancing near the edge of my head, but I get it. Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. Thank you very much, Norma. I appreciate the call. And so we'll be back. It's the Thom Hartmann Program. We're broadcasting live from Washington, D.C. We're trying to get a sense of people's thoughts on the Democratic field and your thoughts on the Democratic field and who you'd like to see running for president and why. A thoughtful conversation as opposed to just a old-fashioned straw poll. We'll be right back.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
And we're here in Washington, D.C. at We Act Radio, a tip of the hat. Kimon Freeman, I was telling you just a minute ago, he introduced me last night at Busboys and Poets. He's helping out. And we'll be right back, and thank you so much. Okay. And welcome back. Let's see here. Kathleen in Jefferson, Maryland. Kathleen, thanks for watching Free Speech. You're on the air.
Hi, I'm so excited that I actually got connected with you. I would like to see Jay Inslee at the top of the ticket because every single other problem we have, immigration, health, you name it, is going to get worse if we don't address the climate crisis immediately. And so that's who I want to lead the ticket. I would love for Elizabeth Warren or Kamala Harris to run for vice president.
Yeah. Okay, great. That's and you are so right, Kathleen. I mean, immigration, we have all these refugees coming in from Central America, and many of them are, in fact, what's the main thing that is throwing Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador into chaos is that their crops are coming in at 20 and 30 and 40% of what they normally do because of climate change, because of droughts and superstorms that are just wiping out their crops. We're seeing the same thing in the American Midwest. I mean, we're not to the point where we're going to be climate refugees, but these are climate refugees. So you've got immigration being driven by climate change, health, we've got our human health, you've got tick-borne diseases and things like this that are spreading across the country like wildfire. People are getting Lyme disease and whatnot. This is the result of climate change. The beetles that are attacking our forests, that's the result of climate change. It really does drive so many other things. So very well said, Kathleen. Thank you very much for that. Rex in Boston. Hey, in Boston, Massachusetts. Hey, Rex, your thoughts?
Hi there. How you doing, Tom?
Good. What's up?
Okay, I like for the top, it's Bernie Sanders, and for Vice President, Tulsi Gabbard. We need somebody.
That's interesting. You're the second or third person who's talked about the two of them together. Why?
Yeah, well, we need somebody, both of them. They've proven it. We need somebody who's strong, who could go up against McConnell, Putin, and that military-industrial complex, If they had it, like Bolton and those guys had it their way, we'd be at war with everybody. And I think that ticket could stand up to them.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Rex. Good to hear from you. Maverick in Edmonds, Washington. Maverick, your thoughts?
Tom, I'm heartbroken. I didn't get a ticket to see you when you're in Seattle. I even switched my weekend with my kid, but maybe for the next book. As far as tickets go, yeah, me too. I want to shake your hand, buddy. Tickets, let's see. We need a paint roller and a Sharpie. And the paint roller is Bernie Sanders for president. And the Sharpie would be Jay Inslee because of the environment. And, boy, I'll tell you, I am ready for a female president or a black president or a black gay female. I don't care, as long as they're a good president. But I think Bernie will be the best president and Jay would be the best vice president.
By paint roller and Sharpie, what you meant with that metaphor is somebody who can do a broad spectrum of stuff and somebody who's very focused on one of the most important issues, right?
Yeah, I was going to say shotgun and a pistol, but I didn't want to. I thought that would be a lousy metaphor.
I get it. I get it. Well, I'm on book tour about guns, so that would have worked. Maverick, thanks a lot for the call, and I'm sorry I'll miss you in Seattle, but I will be back, I promise you. We'll be right back. It's coming up on 20 minutes past the hour. You know, every day here on the Thom Hartmann Program, Louise and I and our team, Sean, Nate, Shira, Dave, Chase, Sue, Nigel, Ron, we all work to put together the very, very best show we possibly can. And there's an enormous amount of work that goes into the show. And one of the things that comes out of that is a lot of content, a lot of specific information that we go through and we dig out and, we want to share with you. And Sue puts that into our newsletter every week. And I think you will, if you don't already receive our newsletter, it comes in email every day, about an hour after we're off the air, or maybe a couple hours after we're off the air. And Sue goes through and pulls literally every link to every story that we talked about and puts it into the newsletter. It's free. We don't sell the list or anything. You complete safety and security. There's no charge. There's no nothing. Just, plug in your email address over at thomhartmann.com. And you get signed up for the newsletter. It's all fairly obvious. You'll see it on the website. So check it out, thomhartmann.com. Thank you.
Want to connect with the show online? You can find the Thom Hartmann Program on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
And welcome back. We're talking about the Democratic field and who are your favorites. Who would you like to see at the top of the ticket? Who'd you like to see for vice president? And if you've got 3 or 4, that's fine, toss them out quickly. But also I'm curious why. Why these particular people? Is it Ari in Chicago or Amy? I can't quite tell. My type is really small on this screen that I'm using when I'm on remote.
Ari?
In Chicago? Ari, yeah.
Hi, Mr. Tom. There's a lot of great candidates, but senators are needed in those seats. That's my concern. I agree 100% with the lady that picked Yang. Andrew Yang is an underdog, and not many people are talking about him right now, but he's got over 80 policies on Yang 2020. He can unite our divided country because he's got a broad spectrum of supporters. Automation needs to be addressed. We need to rebuild our economy with UBI, freedom dividend, fight poverty, besides, having a comprehensive trade policy. And everybody's talking about jobs, but there won't be any. And that's my concern. Also, the Dream Cabinet would involve people like Richard Ojeda, maybe Amy McGrath and Tulsi Gabbard as a vice. And he wrote War on Normal People, which addresses all these things. And also wondering if you'd ever have him as a guest on your show.
Andrew Yang?
Andrew Yang, my favorite.
Yeah, I believe he's been on our program. Yeah, he was on our program in January, and we should get him back on. We've reached out to all of the candidates. The door is open to any of them to come on this program anytime they want. Most of them are just, A, they're too busy campaigning, and B, anytime you do an interview, if they don't know me and they haven't listened to the show and they don't know that I'm not going to. Here's the thing, Ari. A lot of people in this business, in radio and TV, they want to, they're climbing in their careers, right? And they want to become big shots, and they want to end up on the big networks and stuff like that. And one of the ways to do that is to have some incredible gotcha moment that really nails somebody. So candidates are a little reluctant to go on shows that they don't know and they're not familiar with. And I don't do gotcha stuff. But they don't know that. So a lot of them, we've reached out to them and they've said, well, not right now, and we're not doing media. And I absolutely understand that. But I think Andrew Yang is a great guy. And if he's not a presidential nominee, I'd love to see him in the cabinet in like Secretary of the Treasury or something like that.
Vice President Marianne Williamson or Tulsi, I think, would be good.
Yeah. Marianne, last night I was having dinner with a friend of mine, Ron Williams, who's the president of Free Speech TV, and he was telling me that he had heard an interview, I think on the Pod Save America podcast, a long-form interview with Marianne, and it just blew him away. I've known Marianne for years and years, and she's a very, very impressive woman. She's very smart. She's very committed. She's been very consistent her entire life with her values, and I think she has a lot to contribute, whether she's president, vice president, ends up in the cabinet, ends up, running for Congress again. She nearly got that one. So, there's some great candidates. Ari, thank you very much for the call. Let's see here, John, in Auburn, Washington. John, your thoughts.
Hi, Tom. Thanks for taking the call. I really have a passion for Bernie Sanders. I think he would be a great president. However, I don't think he would survive the name calling by the opposition, who will put the label Socialist Bernie on him, and it will scare people away because people don't understand socialism and what it really is. So my real
he's not a socialist; he's a democratic socialist. But
I get that. But the idea that Trump doesn't care about that distinction, because he will call him a socialist over and over and over again, and I don't think that people will be able to let that go because they're afraid of socialism or being a democratic socialist. So, in order to get elected, my pick would be Biden for president and Warren or Harris for vice president. I think that Warren's a better candidate. I think that she's stronger than Biden, but I think that Biden will have the electability and Warren will have an easy in to perhaps the next election after that. And especially, thinking that Biden is in his late 70s, I hope that he would survive.
No, I think he's 70. He's 75 or 6, something like that.
Yeah, and I'm just hoping that he would actually survive 4 years of stressful presidential action. And you need to have somebody behind him who is very strong and will be able to help him be the great president that he could be.
Yeah. Age is a different thing now than it was. And frankly, I think it's because people don't smoke anymore. But, I think smoking is what took out FDR. And but people just are not aging as fast as they used to. And the lifestyle is better, less processed food, more healthy stuff. But I think that smoking has been the thing that has, caused the average age of men anyway, in particular, to be in the 60s back just 40, 50 years ago.
That's why I quit 42 years ago now. I'm counting.
There you go. Yeah, I quit when I was 21, and thank God. John, thanks a lot for the call. We'll be back. We're continuing our conversation about the fate and future of the Democratic primary.
To the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
Back with your calls right after this. So thanks so much to those of you who called in yesterday. We sort of hit our goal for the day yesterday, just barely, but we hit our goal for the day yesterday. But we've got a whole week behind us that was just a disaster. And as I said, it may well have been my fault. I don't know. I'm not sure. It may also be so many people are giving to Democratic candidates, and I totally understand that, right? I've been doing that myself, but Free Speech TV, we are so far behind on this fund drive. We're now at about 25% of where we should be right now. And so we're still deep, deep, deep in a hole. And without your help, this station could go black. I mean, it's just that's the reality. They've got to make payroll. They've got to pay for the electrons to get up to the satellite. They've got to pay rent. There are substantial costs. Well, substantial. I mean, you know, the entire network runs on a budget of, I think, $3 or $4 million a year, which is mind-boggling when you think about it. I mean, you know, just one show on MSNBC has a bigger budget than that. In fact, probably, you know, their star is paid more than that. But Free Speech TV runs on this shoestring, and they do so with your help. That's what keeps it going. And we've got to hit these goals. We just have to hit these goals. And so if you haven't already called Free Speech TV and made a contribution, please do so now. We are genuinely behind. And this is not a false alarm. It's, you know, we have to hit these goals. There's no other way to say it. So please call now, 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669, or go to freespeech.org and make your contribution. With a $20 gift, we have the new Trump toilet paper roll. You get one roll of Trump toilet paper, suitable for putting in the guest bathroom, right? Or in the bathroom when the guests come over and come out going, oh, that's very interesting. I'm not going to go any farther than that, I promise, in describing, you know, what might come out of it. No pun intended. With a $50 gift, these are one-time gifts. With a $50 gift, you get the Trump toilet brush. Keep your toilet clean with Donald Trump's face. And with a $60 gift, you get both the Trump toilet paper roll and the Trump toilet brush with a stand. So that's kind of cool. That $60 gift, you know, you get the completely redecorate your bathroom. Yeah. With a $120 gift, you get an autographed copy of my new book, The Hidden History of Guns and the Second Amendment, which is why I'm in D.C. right now, why I was in New York last week, and why in the coming weeks I'll be in San Francisco, Los Angeles, Seattle, Chicago, Minneapolis, and Philadelphia, you know, talking about this book. And I'm discovering that travel isn't as easy as it was 20 years ago. You know, this slam bam, you know, day after day. But I'm having a good time on this. But you know, if you can't make it to one of my book signings, and I know most of you can't, here's a chance to get an actual autographed copy of The Hidden History of Guns and the Second Amendment, my new book. With a $20, that's a $120 one-time gift. With a $20 a month commitment for at least a year, that you get the Thom Hartmann Program stainless steel water bottle. It's $20 a month. With a $30 a month commitment, you get the Thom Hartmann Program, you know, Democracy Begins With You stainless steel water bottle and the tote bag, the Thom Hartmann Program tote bag. That's with $30 a month. With $500 a month gift, we're going to have just a you know, it'll be a relatively small group of us, and we will have a private meeting on the internet. We'll be the only ones who can see it. It's not going to be broadcast or anything. And I'll be answering your questions and listening to your rants and your thoughts on this, that, and the other thing. And, you know, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. That's with a $500 gift for the virtual, you know, meet and greet is what we call it. With a $1,000 gift, you can either come to Portland, Oregon and hang out and watch us do the last hour of the show, and then, you know, we'll go out to lunch. Or you can meet me in Philadelphia on July 12th. I'll be there for Netroots Nation. So meet and greet in Philadelphia. And that, by the way, if you show up in Philadelphia, there'll be appetizers and drinks and you know, kind of a group cocktail table setting sort of thing. It doesn't include travel arrangements, I'm sorry. But those are the $1,000 gifts. But the bottom line is we need your help. This is serious. This is, you know, ring the fire bell. We really need your help. Whatever you can give, please call now, 877-378-8669. This television network literally survives, continues because of your support. And without your support, it won't be here. And we're right on the edge of bringing in new programs and growing. Now we're on Apple TV, we're on Hulu, we're on Sling. And please tell your friends, by the way, there's all kinds of ways to get this network and my program. So please call now, 877-378-8669. Thank you.
Want to connect with the show online? You can find the Thom Hartmann Program on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
I may be coming to your city soon on our book tour for The Hidden History of Guns and the Second Amendment. I'll be in New York, Washington, D.C., Portland, Los Angeles, Seattle, San Francisco, Chicago, and Minneapolis. Here I come. More information is available at thomhartmann.com. And I will be in Portland tomorrow night at 7:30 at Powell's Bookstore. So that's going to be a hoot. It's going to be a lot of fun, so check it out. And also tomorrow night, well, tonight is the premiere on HBO of Ice on Fire, the new Leonardo DiCaprio documentary that I played a role in putting together, and I'm in. And Lila Connors is the director of. Leo narrated it and produced it, along with his dad, George. And it's just a brilliant piece of filmmaking. And if you don't have an HBO subscription, tomorrow night you'll be able to watch it, because HBO is going to put it outside their paywall. So just go to however you get to HBO. There's apps and there's websites, and of course it's on cable systems and whatnot. So we're talking about our favorites for the Democratic nomination and why. Denise in Boonville, Missouri. Hey, Denise, your thoughts?
Hi. I am a teacher, so education is extremely important to me. I'm also disabled, so healthcare is another big issue for me. I was in a car wreck and paralyzed 4 years ago. And I live on the river, the Missouri River, which is flooded right now. My physical therapist has to drive, instead of 10 minutes to work, she has to drive almost 2 hours to get here because of climate change. So those are three very important issues to me. My personal favorite is Bernie Sanders. He was my favorite in 2016. Shortly after my accident, I was able to research everybody. Well, back then there weren't a lot to research. And basically almost every single thing he set forth in his policy lined up with what I want personally and what I think would be good for the U.S. and the earth. So that's why I choose him as my
Vice
favorite.
President?
I would choose Warren or Gabbard, or there's lots of options that would be excellent. I'm with somebody else who said Nina Turner, and I'm wondering when you or Robert Reich will be joining the pool.
Yeah, well, I'll not be running for political office. I know what I do well and what I don't do well, and I do this well, I think, writing and doing TV and radio, but I would make a lousy politician. I can't speak for Robert Reich. I would love to see him be more high profile, but he's doing a great job on the internet. Denise, thank you. Thank you. That's a great list, and it's great to hear from you. Do appreciate it. Ivan in Bartlett, Illinois. Ivan, your thoughts?
Hey, Tom. I want a president, excuse me, who seeks a better life for our children and our grandchildren by promoting education and addressing climate change with a Green New Deal. A president who, once as our Constitution says, promotes the general welfare, that's Medicare for all. And I want a president who calls out the racket of war and believes in seeking peaceful solutions through diplomacy. And that is Bernie and Tulsi as VP. And let me just say this.
Okay.
I believe Bernie would rip Trump up in a debate. No doubt in my mind.
I think most of the people on the ticket would rip Trump up on the debate, but yeah, Bernie doesn't suffer fools gladly, that's for sure. Ivan, thank you very much for the call and for weighing in here. Charlotte in Elmira, New York. Charlotte, you're on the air.
Hi, how are you? I just called to say that I think Joe Biden would be good for president because of all his experience. And I'd like to see a woman as vice president, either Elizabeth Warren or Kamala Harris. That's the way I feel. I would actually like Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris, but I just don't think that the country's ready for it. I don't think they would vote for a woman on both sides of the ticket.
Yeah. Did you hear my story about the Democrats, the California Democratic Party back in 2008 that I told earlier in the first hour of the show, Charlotte?
No, I didn't, unfortunately.
Okay, here's the thing. A number of people have said to me that they think that Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris, or Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren, would make just an absolute kick-ass ticket because, Harris has this background as a prosecutor. She's a lawyer. She understands the law. Of course, Warren was a professor of law in addition to being a lawyer. But Harris really, really knows how to take a bite out of somebody. And Elizabeth Warren has all these policy prescriptions. Yeah, but the story that I was telling was, longtime listeners of this program may remember back in 2007, when the primary field was shaking out in the Democratic Party, and it was Hillary Clinton versus Barack Obama, and the conventional wisdom was that Hillary Clinton was going to be the nominee. And I had on this program one of the senior officials in the Democratic Party for the state of California. My recollection is he was, number 2 or something like that in the party, but it might have been just Southern California. I don't know how California breaks up the party, but a very smart, African-American guy who was on my show. And he said, and we were talking about the primary, and I said, what do you think? Who should people be voting for? And he said, do not vote for Barack Obama. And I'm like, why? And he says, I'm a black man. I know how much racism there is in this country, and there's no way America is going to elect a black president, so vote for Hillary Clinton. And sure enough, Barack Obama became president not once, but twice. So the conventional wisdom back in 2008 was there's no way that a black man, particularly a black man whose middle name is Hussein, could get elected president of the United States, and he did. So I would not be afraid at all of a ticket of 2 women. And I realize misogyny is right up there with racism in terms of its impact on our culture and how widespread it is, particularly among men. But I think we should be unafraid. And I'm not making a pitch here for any particular ticket. But.
Looking at it from that point of view, it doesn't sound as hopeless.
Yeah, I mean, look at what we've already done, Charlotte. There you go. Yeah, and so, Charlotte, thank you very much for the call. It's great to hear from you. I appreciate it. Michael in Lockhart, Texas. Hey, Michael, your thoughts?
Buttigieg and Beto.
Okay, why?
Well, Pete is the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, and I think a Midwestern mayor and a Texas former congressman should be the president and vice presidential ticket.
Okay, all right. Michael, thank you very much. I appreciate the call and you're sharing your thoughts with us. Is it Bill in Mendocino, California? Bill, what's up?
Hey, how you doing today? Thank you, Tom, for taking my call. I would like to put in Elizabeth Warren and Cynthia McKinney. She was my favorite back in 2008. Voted for her, but of course we know where that went.
Yeah. I love Cynthia McKinney. She was on the floor of the House of Representatives. This was back in the early 2000s during the Bush administration. And I had written an op-ed on Common Dreams about how Dick Cheney was a war criminal and specifically why. You know, it was kind of an indictment of him. And she went on the floor of the House and read that. And they gavelled her and ordered her to stop, that you can't criticize the vice president. It's not respectful. And she just kept on reading. And they literally, the sergeant at arms came up and grabbed her and dragged her off as she was continuing to read my op-ed. And I have had so much love and respect for her ever since. But to the best of my knowledge, Bill, she's not running for president or vice president. She's not in the race, is she?
No, she's not in the race, but I think that her pursuit of 9/11 back in the day, that was a lot of what cost her her job. So that's why she's not. That's why she's not in there now.
Yeah.
So if we want any truth about what happened at 9/11 or any time back then, we need to have Cynthia McKinney back in there.
Yeah. So well, and that's what she was talking about. Is how Dick Cheney was exploiting that. Bill, thank you for the call. Lynn in Los Angeles, your thoughts? We have 30 seconds.
I have done a deep dive into the records of all the candidates, and I'm absolutely confident that we have a winner in Bernie Sanders. I'm worried we're going to look our gift horse in the mouth and miss this opportunity to elect the best president of our lifetime because he cares about the people. He will never sell his vote, and he doesn't spout a lot of beautiful but empty rhetoric. He doesn't rely on identity politics. He doesn't flip-flop.
Yep.
Are you there?
And who'd you like to see, real quickly, Deborah, for vice president? Sure.
Elizabeth Warren for her ideas, and they have a 20-year relationship, so they'll make a great team.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate the call, Lynn. It's great to hear from you. We'll be back. We're going to continue our conversation. After the break, in 4 minutes from now, we're going to pick up Talk Media News.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
In 4 minutes, we'll be checking in with Luke Vargas on Talk Media News and find out what's going on in the world. We're gonna talk LGBTQ issues at the top of the hour, and then we'll continue this conversation. Okay, and welcome back. Deborah in Parker, Colorado. Hey, Deborah, thanks for watching us on Free Speech TV. Your thoughts on the Democratic field?
Hi there. Thank you. My choice for president and vice president is Elizabeth Warren. She has the juice, the fire, the drive. I hope she takes it. And Bernie Sanders, close second. If those two ran together, I think they would sweep it. Also, if they couldn't have that combination, Jerry Brown or Michelle Obama would also, whoever gets president, if they put them on their ticket, I think they would still sweep it. Jerry Brown, Michelle Obama.
Well, Jerry Brown is getting up there in the years. He's kind of checked out of politics. Michelle Obama, I love Michelle Obama, and I'd vote for her for anything, including president. But to the best of my knowledge, she does not have political ambitions. She doesn't want to do the Hillary thing of, becoming. So who do you think who's actually in the race?
Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders.
Okay.
But if either one of them won, and they, if they had a pool where they had to pull from for vice president, I think Michelle Obama, Jerry Brown.
Yeah.
Or
okay, I got it.
Either Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders. Whoever wins, I think that would be the dream ticket.
Okay, Deborah, thank you very much. Paul in Riverside, California. Paul, your thoughts? Who would you be voting for?
I would vote for Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. And the reason I would vote for Bernie Sanders is because how many times have we had somebody in office that campaigns on promises and delivers zero, delivers absolutely nothing? And Bernie is a straight shooter. He's got a proven track record. I mean, anybody can see that what he says he does, and he is for the people. And he's the guy we need. And the only thing that worries me is the DNC. because I feel that they are running a different individual as their lead person, and he's supposedly fabricating, or his poll numbers are fabricated right now, and they're going to run that person instead of Bernie. And Bernie is the front runner, and if you look at all of his rallies and everything, he is the one bringing in the crowds. And like I said, he's a straight shooter, and he's what we need. He's the person that would make a difference.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Paul. Good to hear from you, and I appreciate your sharing your thoughts with us. Pat in Greeley, Colorado. Pat, your thoughts?
Hi, Tom. My choices would be Bernie and Elizabeth Warren. There's a lot of great candidates. My primary reason is that I look for a candidate who has compassion and who is able to show their compassion both in their rhetoric and in the policies and in what they have done. And I think we've got a lot of great candidates. My two favorite are Bernie and Elizabeth Warren.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. William in South Orange, New Jersey. William, we have 15 seconds. Your thoughts?
My choices are Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, and they either first or second for either of them. But they both have a plan.
Okay.
They both are moving the ball
They do.
progressively to the left, and everyone else is following them.
Yeah, they are both very, very solid progressive candidates. You're absolutely right. Thank you very much, William, for the call. Up next, Luke Vargas with Talk Media News. Stick around. We'll be right back. You know, every day here on the Thom Hartmann Program, Louise and I and our team, Sean, Nate, Shira, Dave, Chase, Sue, Nigel, Ron, we all work to put together the very, very best show we possibly can. And there's an enormous amount of work that goes into the show. And one of the things that comes out of that is a lot of content, a lot of specific information that we go through and we dig out and, you know, we want to share with you. And Sue puts that into our newsletter every week. And I think you will, if you don't already receive our newsletter, it comes in email every day, about an hour after we're off the air, or maybe a couple hours after we're off the air. And Sue goes through and pulls literally every link to every story that we talked about and puts it into the newsletter. It's free. We don't sell a list or anything. You complete safety and security. There's no charge. There's no nothing. Just, you know, plug in your email address over at thomhartmann.com. And you get signed up for the newsletter. It's all fairly obvious. You'll see it on the website. So check it out, thomhartmann.com. Thank you.
Want to connect with the show online? You can find the Thom Hartmann Program on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Let's check in with Luke Vargas and find out what's going on in the world today. This report from Talk Media News brought to you by goatsfortheoldgoat.com and Loving What You Do, Ellen Ratner's new book. Luke is the chief foreign correspondent for Talk Media News, joins us today from New York. And Luke, there's been a back and forth would be the polite way to say it, something to do with people spraying water at each other would be the impolite way to say it, war between Trump and the press and Mexico about what actually happened with this Mexico deal. What's the story here?
You're right to suggest the details are a little bit hard to pin down, and that one thing that I think we can diagnose is I think a real professionalism on the part of these Mexican negotiators to have basically, and it's got to be really tough for them to, on one hand, feel such an impulse to dismiss Trump's instincts to take their relationship, which goes back so many years and is solid on so many fronts, and to insult it so regularly, and you'd imagine they want to walk out of the room with U.S. negotiators at times when suddenly, after, let's say, hashing out a trade deal for 2 years, you're told that it all hinges on a whole new set of policy measures. So there's clearly frustration that they're burying as they bite their lips and try to sort of say things that President Trump wants to hear on immigration. The two things that have really jumped out in the last day is their decision to deploy 6,000 Mexican National Guard to the southern Mexican border with Guatemala. You could think of this as sort of a figurative border wall to stop Central Americans from making their journey northward. They've also agreed to beef up an existing deal that was struck last year that would see folks from Central America who actually want to apply for asylum in the United States to basically spend a few months loitering around in Mexican cities as their asylum paperwork is dealt with, as opposed to being processed and then released into the United States during that same period. The real question, I guess, at this point now is, and I will say that on top of this whole thing, adding uncertainty, is the fact that there are no clear guidelines as to sort of what counts for improvement of the sort that the U.S. Would, see fit to accept as a way of deferring tariffs. And so it's all coming right back to a gut call from President Trump, which is precisely probably how he wants it. There's no objective standard of progress that Mexico is going to be measured against. They could do 1,001 things, but if Trump doesn't like the border numbers he gets in August or whatever it is, he could just rip this whole thing up and send us back to tariffs. But we are hearing that the thing that Mexican negotiators are now sort of taking seriously, which I'd say is the biggest thing since this whole tariff thing started, is the prospect of a safe third country agreement with the United States and possibly more countries. This would be something along the lines, and some immigration scholars could, call in and correct me if they think I'm getting this wrong, but sort of roughly equal to what the European Union has in something called the Dublin Rule, which basically says the first safe country within the European Union that you arrive in as a migrant is really where your asylum claim ought to be filed. And that if you go multiple steps around in Europe after that, you're going to sort of wreck your case or be sent back to the end of the line. And so the U.S., it sounds like, is trying to do something similar here, where if you're trying to flee El Salvador and the first safe country you get to is Mexico, where you're not fleeing MS-13 or whatever, then that is the country that ultimately has to process your claim, that there's no responsibility for the U.S. to even get involved in most of those cases. And that would be a home run for Trump. Mexico is justifiably concerned about taking on a responsibility that their whole system is not really geared to take on. But nonetheless, Mexican negotiators are looking into it. We've heard reports of talks with the government of Panama and the government of Brazil in particular, which would basically bring in a whole sort of hemispheric immigration deal here, where you have the Panama government saying anyone who comes to us from Cuba or Haiti, we're the place those asylum claims are then judged. Brazil would take over and say people fleeing Africa and maybe Venezuela, that's where those claims are, and Mexico sort of just being sort of one of the northern safe third-party countries as a part of that deal. So again, very early stages, but the fact that those conversations are even happening suggests Mexican negotiators seem to have moved a lot in the last few days.
Yeah, and I'm reading that there are massive crop failures happening in Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. That stretch near the equator there is being really, really whacked by climate change between drought and superstorms, much like the American Midwest is getting.
Yep.
And so it wouldn't surprise me if these climate change refugees are not only coming to the United States, but that they're also heading down to Panama. If that's the case, or through Panama into South America, if that's the case, and we don't, rapidly do something about climate change, that's just going to get worse and worse. And we know, the Northern African refugees who are fleeing into Europe are also climate change refugees. At what point do people start referring to this as climate change refugees, A? And B, at what point might even the Trump administration, and certainly, Mexico and Brazil, start getting serious about doing something about this?
Well, I think they are climate refugees already in some cases, but you do see the architecture of a system to handle that breaking down if what the U.S. and Mexico are talking about here is implemented.
Yeah, that's amazing. Luke Vargas with Talk Media News. You can follow him on Twitter at The Courier. Thank you, Luke.
Thank you, Tom.
Good talking with you. We'll be back.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
We say fight back!
So thanks so much to those of you who called in yesterday. We sort of hit our goal for the day yesterday, just barely, but we hit our goal for the day yesterday. But we've got a whole week behind us that was just a disaster. And as I said, it may well have been my fault. I don't know. I'm not sure. It may also be so many people are giving to Democratic candidates, and I totally understand that, right? I've been doing that myself, but Free Speech TV, we are so far behind on this fund drive. We're now at about 25% of where we should be right now. And so we're still deep in a hole. And without your help, this station could go black. I mean, it's just that's the reality. They've got to make payroll. They've got to pay for the electrons to get up to the satellite. They've got to pay rent. There are substantial costs. Well, substantial. I mean, the entire network runs on a budget of, I think, $3 or $4 million a year, which is mind-boggling when you think about it. I mean, just one show on MSNBC has a bigger budget than that. In fact, probably, their star is paid more than that. But Free Speech TV runs on this shoestring, and they do so with your help. That's what keeps it going. And we've got to hit these goals. We just have to hit these goals. And so if you haven't already called Free Speech TV and made a contribution, please do so now. We are genuinely behind. And this is not a false alarm. We have to hit these goals. There's no other way to say it. So please call now, 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669, or go to freespeech.org and make your contribution. With a $20 gift, we have the new Trump toilet paper roll. You get one roll of Trump toilet paper, suitable for putting in the guest bathroom, right? Or in the bathroom when the guests come over and they'll come out going, oh, that's very interesting. I'm not going to go any farther than that, I promise, in describing, what might come out of it. No pun intended. With a $50 gift, these are one-time gifts. With a $50 gift, you get the Trump toilet brush. Keep your toilet clean with Donald Trump's face. And with a $60 gift, you get both the Trump toilet paper roll and the Trump toilet brush with a stand. So that's kind of cool. That $60 gift, you get the completely redecorate your bathroom. Yeah. With a $120 gift, you get an autographed copy of my new book, The Hidden History of Guns and the Second Amendment, which is why I'm in D.C. right now, why I was in New York last week, and why in the coming weeks I'll be in San Francisco, Los Angeles, Seattle, Chicago, Minneapolis, and Philadelphia, talking about this book. And I'm discovering that travel isn't as easy as it was 20 years ago. This slam bam, day after day. But I'm having a good time on this. But if you can't make it to one of my book signings, and I know most of you can't, here's a chance to get an actual autographed copy of The Hidden History of Guns and the Second Amendment, my new book. With a $20, that's a $120 one-time gift. With a $20 a month commitment for at least a year, that you get the Thom Hartmann Program stainless steel water bottle. It's $20 a month. With a $30 a month commitment, you get the Thom Hartmann Program, Democracy Begins With You stainless steel water bottle and the tote bag, the Thom Hartmann Program tote bag. That's with $30 a month. With $500 a month gift, we're going to have just it'll be a relatively small group of us, and we will have a private meeting on the internet. We'll be the only ones who can see it. It's not going to be broadcast or anything. And I'll be answering your questions and listening to your rants and your thoughts on this, that, and the other thing. And, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. That's with a $500 gift for the virtual, meet and greet is what we call it. With the $1,000 gift, you can either come to Portland, Oregon and hang out and watch us do the last hour of the show, and then, we'll go out to lunch. Or you can meet me in Philadelphia on July 12th. I'll be there for Netroots Nation. So meet and greet in Philadelphia. And that, by the way, if you show up in Philadelphia, there'll be appetizers and drinks and you know, kind of a group cocktail table setting sort of thing. Doesn't include travel arrangements. I'm sorry, but those are the $1,000 gifts. But the bottom line is, we need your help. This is serious. This is, you know, ring the fire bell. We really need your help. Whatever you can give, please call now. 877-378-8669. This television network literally survives, continues because of your support. And without your support, it won't be here. And we're right on the edge of bringing in new programs and you know, growing. Now we're on Apple TV, we're on Hulu, we're on Sling. And please tell your friends, by the way, there's all kinds of ways to get this network and my program. So please call now, 877-378-8669. Thank you. You know, every day here on the Thom Hartmann Program, Louise and I and our team, Sean, Nate, Shira, Dave, Chase, Sue, Nigel, Ron, we all work to put together the very, very best show we possibly can. And there's an enormous amount of work that goes into the show. And one of the things that comes out of that is a lot of content, a lot of specific information that we go through and we dig out and, you know, we want to share with you. And Sue puts that into our newsletter every week. And I think you will, if you don't already receive our newsletter, it comes in email every day, about an hour after we're off the air, or maybe a couple hours after we're off the air. And Sue goes through and pulls literally every link to every story that we talked about and puts it into the newsletter. It's free. We don't sell a list or anything. You complete safety and security. There's no charge. There's no nothing. Just, you know, plug in your email address over at thomhartmann.com and you get signed up for the newsletter. It's all fairly obvious. You'll see it on the website. So check it out, thomhartmann.com. Thank you.
Want to connect with the show online? You can find the Thom Hartmann Program on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Report.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
And welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you live from Washington, D.C. We're broadcasting from the studios of We Act Radio, and so grateful for the studio. And Kimon Freeman's here helping me out and introduced me last night at Busboys and Poets. And just, this is a marvelous radio station here in Washington, D.C. We're so pleased to be on their air as well. But on the line with us right now is Natalie Jackson. Natalie is the research director with the Public Religion Research Institute. Publicreligion.org is the website. This is fascinating stuff. They just released a new survey. It's PRRI is a nonpartisan, nonprofit research organization. And, you know, given all these rollbacks for protections for transgender individuals, including Trump's transgender military ban, you know, which is pretty grim stuff. They did a survey and they released it today. So, Natalie, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. And by the way, just FYI, because I'm doing this remote, there's about a 1-second delay in our phone things. So don't let that disorient you. It's just that's the way it is, and I can't do anything about it.
Okay, great.
Tell me about your survey. Who were you asking? What did you ask? And what did you come up with?
Sure. So we regularly survey all Americans about a variety of topics, and this particular survey focused on transgender and LGBT issues, particularly in light of the anniversaries this month, Stonewall, various Supreme Court decisions affecting those communities. So we wanted to really shine a light on what the American people think. Now, the surveys that we do are representative. This particular one is 1,100 people nationwide, randomly selected by telephone. And so the basic finding here is that people are broadly supportive and becoming more supportive of transgender issues and transgender rights than we've seen in the past.
That's marvelous. What do you attribute that to?
You know, it's difficult to point to any one thing, but we do see an increasing number of people saying that they have interactions with transgender or, you know, more broadly, LGBT people. And the more people interact, the more familiar they are with these issues, the more friendly they are toward them. You know, it's really a humanizing effect. And we do see some increases in people who say they know someone or have a friend or close friend or family member who is transgender. So I'd attribute it partly to that and partly just to more awareness out there in society.
Yeah, that's my sense of it. And it seems to me that there was, in the last decade or so, maybe 2 decades, that, Louise and I have a gay person, specifically in our immediate family, and a trans person in our extended family. But I'm not sure that either would have been, talking about it or, upfront or open about it. I can't speak for my own family, but and don't want to. But broadly speaking, people in those situations were prior to the last few decades, by and large, hiding out, and now there's been this coming out, and as a consequence of this, a lot of people who may have held, frankly, bigoted views in the past are going, oh, wait a minute, that's my cousin, or wait a minute, that's my son, or that's my daughter, or that's my, do you think that that this is, which is the chicken and which is the egg? Which is driving the other? Is it that there's more people coming out, and particularly, coming out after the AIDS epidemic or the crisis in the 1980s and Reagan's deplorable, vicious, hateful response to that, and then the backlash to that after Reagan was gone. Where have these cultural inflection points occurred, and are those the things that are driving this acceptance? Are those the things that drove more people coming out, and is that driving the acceptance, or is the acceptance allowing people to come out?
It's really difficult to say which, and I'm sure there's a lot of research going on trying to figure that out. But we do know that these things are very heavily correlated, and we also know that, particularly with the concept of same-sex marriage, Americans' opinions on that issue have switched faster than we've seen for almost any other issue in recent memory that we have, survey data on. 15 years ago, it was almost taboo for even Democrats to say they favored same-sex marriage. American public opinion was very heavily against it. And now it's completely reversed. And we have, huge proportions of the public saying, yes, same-sex marriage should be legal. Yes, transgender rights are important. And, there's a lot of things behind that, a lot of advocacy, a lot of work, a lot of people coming out and being bold and being willing to be visible.
Yeah. Your organization is the Public Religion Research Institute, and I have to confess, I don't know a great deal about your organization. Why religion and research? What do you do? Where'd you come from? And what other things are you looking at?
Sure. So we are a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization, as you mentioned earlier. Our founder, Robert Jones, is a religion and politics scholar who began this organization about 10 years ago. And really what we do is we study those issues that are at the intersection of where the big cleavages are in society, what's driving the differences that we see. And a large part of it is politics, and a large part of it is religion. And so we really seek to highlight where public opinion in the country actually is. Because, for example, with transgender issues, given the direction of the current administration right now, you would not think that the United States is a friendly place for LGBT people. And certainly the administration's policies are not. But if you actually ask the American public, they don't feel that way. What we're seeing is the administration working against what the American public actually thinks. So
Which is
we
a
like
good
to
sign
shine
for the future. I mean, the president is difficult. I'm sorry.
Of course. And we like to shine the light on issues like that and make sure that advocacy groups, funders, policymakers, media, the general public, everyone is aware of where public opinion actually stands on these important issues in society, as well as what drives differences in opinion, which is largely religion, politics, and race.
Right. We have, and in fact, right now we've got a married gay man running for president of the United States, and he's polling in the top 5, which, you know, as you say, 15 years ago, definitely would not have been the case. We just have about 25 seconds left before we hit a hard break here, Natalie. I'm curious if you think that, you know, we now have several Muslim representatives in Congress. We have a Hindu representative who's running for president. Is religious bigotry in the United States on the wane, or is it waxing? Growing?
You know, it's one of those things that goes back and forth from time to time, and you know, we can only hope that society is getting better on this dimension.
Amen. Natalie Jackson, the research director at the Public Religion Research Institute. The website is publicreligion.org. And Natalie, thanks so much for dropping by today.
Thank you.
It's been great talking with you. We'll be back. We're going to get back to our conversation about, you know, what's the status and
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
So stick around. We'll be back with your calls right after this. And welcome back. If you're just tuning into the program, we have been for the last couple of hours kind of hashing out these two main issues. There's a number of other ones that we've talked about, but the two main issues are that Hillary Clinton came out yesterday and said that she thinks that Madeleine Albright's new book on fascism is something we should all read, and I confess I have not yet read it, but I'm going to be looking for it. And B, that she's concerned that there's actually a very real threat of fascism in the United States, of this country flipping fascist. Now, obviously, you know, she's talking in the context of the Trump administration, their disregard for the institutions of America, their disregard for the values of America, the disregard, frankly, for the people of America. You just heard that from Natalie, talking about the majority of Americans are tolerant of LGBTQ people, and this administration is not. So we've been talking about that. We've been, and the other question that we've been asking is, you know, who are your favorites for president and vice president? This is our, you know, every couple of weeks now, and we'll continue this as we go toward the election. And it's fascinating how things have changed, frankly. There's a number of candidates that have been mentioned today that, you know, weren't even on anybody's radar just 3-4 months ago. But, you know, asking you what you think, you know, who would you like to see? What's your dream ticket? Who would you like to see as president or vice president, or, you know, one or the other or both, and why? Andy in, is it Friendswood, Texas? Andy?
Yes, Friendswood, Texas. How you doing, Tom? Yes,
I'm well, and you're on the air. It says you wanted to talk about fascism?
Yes, putting it on a scale to kind of relate everything else to where we're at and where other countries have been. If we say have a +10 that represents maximized equality and maximized democracy, and at the other end of the scale you have -10 where you maximize inequality and authoritarianism, and I would put Nazi Germany at a -10. Another reference there would be, say, Denmark maybe is at a +5. And relative to where we are in America today under Trump, I would rate us at a -7. And I'd sure like in 2020 for us to be at a +7.
Yeah. You said -7?
Yes, for under Donald Trump, yes.
Yeah, yeah, I don't disagree. Where do you think we were when President Obama was president?
Well, I guess we maximize, say, at a +3 for me. We maximize, say, at a +3 sometime after, we certainly had the Social Security, we got Medicare, then we had under Nixon the EPA and OSHA and the Clean Air Act and the Clean Water Act and things of that sort. So prior to the 70s, I think is when we kind of peaked. And it's been an ebb and flow ever since then, but we've taken a significant downturn under Mr. Trump.
Yeah, I agree. Andy, my take on that is that the beginning of fascism in the United States, in the modern incarnation, happened in 1976 with the Buckley versus Vallejo decision at the Supreme Court, saying that money is the same thing as free speech and thus protected by the First Amendment. And, if you accept the definition of fascism as the merger of corporate and state interests, I think, every president, regardless of their policies, since basically 1980, we have been in the fascist area. Thank you, Andy. Every day here on the Thom Hartmann Program, Louise and I and our team, Sean, Nate, Shira, Dave, Chase, Sue, Nigel, Ron, we all work to put together the very, very best show we possibly can. And there's an enormous amount of work that goes into the show. And one of the things that comes out of that is a lot of content, a lot of specific information that we go through and we dig out and, we want to share with you. And Sue puts that into our newsletter every week. And I think you will, if you don't already receive our newsletter, it comes in email every day, about an hour after we're off the air, or maybe a couple hours after we're off the air. And Sue goes through and pulls literally every link to every story that we talked about and puts it into the newsletter. It's free. We don't sell a list or anything. You complete safety and security. There's no charge. There's no nothing. Just, plug in your email address over at thomhartmann.com. And you get signed up for the newsletter. It's all fairly obvious. You'll see it on the website. So check it out, thomhartmann.com. Thank you. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. We are talking, by and large, most people who are calling want to weigh in on their pick for the Democratic Party, in the primaries here. What person? And what person would you like to see as the nominee of our party? And I realize that there are, different ways to parse this, different ways to look at the equation. Is this the person that agrees with me on the issues, or is this the person that I think, because of personality or temperament or past experience or position or whatever, fill in the blanks, is most likely to beat Donald Trump? Or is this the person that I think really our country needs right now? Or is this the person I think our country will accept right now? And, I get all that. But my simple question to you is, who do you really love? Who's got you fired up? Whether they could win or not, we can debate electability all day long. As I said, in the last hour, back in the 2007 election, I had African Americans, including one who was, fairly high up in the California Democratic Party, calling into the show. This is when Hillary and Obama were, going against each other in the primary, calling up and saying, don't vote for Obama because America will never elect a black man, particularly one whose middle name was Hussein. And boy, were we all wrong on that, right? And I drank that Kool-Aid for a little while, in fact, myself. And it was largely African Americans who convinced me of that. And, Obama proved us all wrong, thank God. And so now, sometimes people will call and say, well, I'd like a ticket with two women on it, Harris and Warren, for example, or Warren and Harris, or Harris and Gabbard. I mean, fill in the blanks, right? I'm not pitching anybody here. I'm remaining agnostic until the primaries are over. But I think the question of, is America ready for a female president? Well, yeah, Hillary Clinton got 3 million more votes than Donald Trump. I mean, it was a freak, occurrence between foreign interference in our elections, and the Electoral College, and you know, you could argue mistakes that Robbie Mook made running her campaign, whatever, that she's not in the White House right now. But she got 3 million more votes. So in my mind, clearly, America's ready for a female president. Is America ready for a ticket that's 2 women? I frankly think so, but, you know, I've been wrong before. But, you know, I'm curious who you are, you know, who really has you excited? James in Clear Lake Oaks, California. James, you're on the air.
Hi, Tom. I'm very excited about Senator Warren's candidacy. And part of the reason is that I think she has a really sort of heartfelt desire to, you know, appeal to people all across the country who are maybe sort of like middle class, working class people who maybe are ready for a little bit of sort of financial market regulation, market restructuring. You know, because the proposals that she's putting forward are pretty radical, but they would also appeal, I think, to a lot of, I guess they call them millennials, like just younger people who seem to, like either go libertarian or socialist. Like I've seen different polls say different things, but you know, it seems like a lot of them, like even like somebody who would vote for like, you know, Clinton or whatever, like have some sort of concept. We live in a modern society where we just, you know, we're not riding around on horses, slinging our guns or anything. We have to have some kind of like political economic system, they call it, you know, the way of life, worker co-ops and so forth as part of it. And
so who's your
I
choice for vice president, James?
Well, because I would like to overthrow capitalism. I am a socialist. I like Bernie Sanders a little bit better than most of them, but really I don't care too much, I guess. But Harris would probably be the best.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, James. I appreciate the call and your thoughts. John in Costa Mesa, California. John, your thoughts?
Hi, Tom. I think just in general with how polarized the country is, we definitely need a centrist who's going to represent the majority of Americans' views and policy positions. So my presidential vote would go for Bernie Sanders. And vice president right now, I think based on kind of middle America's essential protest vote of Trump and what's going on with the working class in a lot of those states, Andrew Yang has the most data-driven approach to really addressing a lot of those issues, and the reason why a lot of those voters, you know, were so motivated to vote for essentially a con artist out of desperation. So I think those two on the ticket, they would really solidify, you know, looking at middle America's gripes and also bringing forth like a lot of policy positions that most Americans have been saying they wanted.
Yeah, marvelous. John, thank you very much. Thanks for sharing your thoughts with us. It's kind of refreshing to hear somebody refer to Bernie or any of our candidates as centrists. But it's the truth. When you ask Americans what they want, by and large, their policy desires line up with the policy positions of even the most progressive of
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
We'll be back with our June, I don't want to call it a straw poll because we're digging a little deeper. I'm asking you why, but our June conversation about the primaries. So thanks so much to those of you who called in yesterday. We sort of hit our goal for the day yesterday, just barely, but we hit our goal for the day yesterday. But we've got a whole week behind us that was just a disaster. And as I said, it may well have been my fault. I don't know. I'm not sure. It may also be so many people are giving to Democratic candidates, and I totally understand that, right? I've been doing that myself, but Free Speech TV, we are so far behind on this fund drive. We're now at about 25% of where we should be right now. And so we're still deep, deep, deep in a hole. And without your help, this station could go black. I mean, it's just that's the reality. They've got to make payroll. They've got to pay for the electrons to get up to the satellite. They've got to pay rent. There are substantial costs. Well, substantial. I mean, you know, the entire network runs on a budget of, I think, $3 or $4 million a year, which is mind-boggling when you think about it. I mean, you know, just one show on MSNBC has a bigger budget than that. In fact, probably, you know, their star is paid more than that. But Free Speech TV runs on this shoestring, and they do so with your help. That's what keeps it going. And we've got to hit these goals. We just have to hit these goals. And so if you haven't already called Free Speech TV and made a contribution, please do so now. We are genuinely behind. And this is not a false alarm. It's, you know, we have to hit these goals. There's no other way to say it. So please call now, 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669, or go to freespeech.org and make your contribution. With a $20 gift, we have the new Trump toilet paper roll. You get one roll of Trump toilet paper, suitable for putting in the guest bathroom, right? Or in the bathroom when the guests come over and come out going, oh, that's very interesting. I'm not going to go any farther than that, I promise, in describing, what might come out of it. No pun intended. With a $50 gift, these are one-time gifts. With a $50 gift, you get the Trump toilet brush. Keep your toilet clean with Donald Trump's face. And with a $60 gift, you get both the Trump toilet paper roll and the Trump toilet brush with a stand. So that's kind of cool. That $60 gift, you know, you get the completely redecorate your bathroom. Yeah. With a $120 gift, you get an autographed copy of my new book, The Hidden History of Guns and the Second Amendment, which is why I'm in D.C. right now, why I was in New York last week, and why in the coming weeks I'll be in San Francisco, Los Angeles, Seattle, Chicago, Minneapolis, and Philadelphia, you know, talking about this book. And I'm discovering that travel isn't as easy as it was 20 years ago. You know, this slam bam, day after day. But I'm having a good time on this. But if you can't make it to one of my book signings, and I know most of you can't, here's a chance to get an actual autographed copy of The Hidden History of Guns and the Second Amendment, my new book. With a $20, that's a $120 one-time gift. With a $20 a month commitment for at least a year, that you get the Thom Hartmann Program stainless steel water bottle. It's $20 a month. With a $30 a month commitment, you get the Thom Hartmann Program, Democracy Begins With You stainless steel water bottle and the tote bag, the Thom Hartmann Program tote bag. That's with $30 a month. With $500 a month gift, we're going to have just it'll be a relatively small group of us, and we will have a private meeting on the internet. We'll be the only ones who can see it. It's not going to be broadcast or anything. And I'll be answering your questions and listening to your rants and your thoughts on this, that, and the other thing. And, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. That's with a $500 gift for the virtual, meet and greet is what we call it. With the $1,000 gift, you can either come to Portland, Oregon and hang out and watch us do the last hour of the show, and then, we'll go out to lunch. Or you can meet me in Philadelphia on July 12th. I'll be there for Netroots Nation. So meet and greet in Philadelphia. And that, by the way, if you show up in Philadelphia, there'll be appetizers and drinks and kind of a group cocktail table setting sort of thing. Doesn't include travel arrangements, I'm sorry. But those are the $1,000 gifts. But the bottom line is we need your help. This is serious. This is, ring the fire bell. We really need your help. Whatever you can give, please call now, 877-378-8669. This television network literally survives, continues because of your support. And without your support, it won't be here. And we're right on the edge of bringing in new programs and growing. Now we're on Apple TV, we're on Hulu, we're on Sling. And please tell your friends, by the way, there's all kinds of ways to get this network and my program. So please call now, 877-378-8669. Thank you.
Want to connect with the show online? You can find the Thom Hartmann Program on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
I may be coming to your city soon on our book tour for The Hidden History of Guns and the Second Amendment. I'll be in New York, Washington, D.C., Portland, Los Angeles, Seattle, San Francisco, Chicago, and Minneapolis. Here I come. More information is available at thomhartmann.com. And Portland is tomorrow night at 7:30 at Powell's Books. So check it out. We're talking about your thoughts on who you would like to see as the president and vice president of the United States should the Democrats prevail over Donald Trump. And, it's sort of our June, let's figure out what's going on here. Robert in Ogden, Utah. Robert, what's on your mind?
Hey, Tom, long-time listener, first-time caller.
Thank you.
My top of the guy is Matt. I met on your show like that, Brunch with Bernie, years ago. I think he's the real deal. Like I said, I've campaigned hard for him here in Utah when he ran last time, and he won it. I got Republicans and independents and everybody to come out for the guy. He won the primary like in the 70s. But I'd really like to see him and like Nina Turner, or what's that other one? Tulsi Gabbard. But mainly I want to see Bernie because, like I said, he's got 40 years experience. He's got a proven record, and that's all I care about. People, I don't care about anything else. Let's look at the records. Bernie's always on the right side. That's my man.
Yeah, and you're I think the third or fourth person who's talked about Nina Turner, who's not running, but she's just an absolutely wonderful person.
Okay, well, if not Nina, then I'd probably slide Tulsi Gabbard up in there.
Okay, you got it. Robert, thank you very much. Thanks for the call, and thanks for Well, I'm sorry, Robert. That delay caught me. I had disconnected you, and then the audio came through. There is about a 1-second delay that happens when I'm on the road here. So my apologies. We just kind of have to work around it. But anyway, AJ in Eureka, California, listening on KGOE. Hey, AJ, what's up?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. While I'm sitting here waiting to go on, I'm listening to the other callers calling in, and something the lady said a little while ago kind of maybe take another way to see this question. And here's what I came up with. A lot of the people that are running are really good where they're at now, like Elizabeth and Bernie. They're doing a good job where they're at. And so is Nancy Pelosi. And I see the impeachment process is likely going to get POTUS, that is the president, and Pence, and other people close to them in the bright lights of public opinion and probable conviction by the Senate, even if that part happens after November 2020, as it did with Nixon after a landslide. But Pence is close enough to the movie to be a major player in it, and is likely to go down as well. So you won't have a Gerald Ford to pardon him. Instead, you're going to end up with President
especially because of his
Nancy
behavior
Pelosi.
in the transition.
Yeah. So then, if we have a President Pelosi for a while, she's likely to pick a running mate that's going to, for her next election, that she has to actually run as an elected office. She's going to be president because she's the next in line. If Pence goes as well as the president. Meanwhile, the current Dems could fill her cabinet with very talented people and take it from there. I'd like to see Harris as AG and so on, down the line. And even Booty, what's his name? He could be really good as Veterans Affairs. Instead of having elected office, he really would be.
And I'd love to see Tulsi Gabbard in charge of the Pentagon.
Yeah.
There's a hell of a lot of talent in this field.
Who would you pick as your cabinet?
Yeah.
If Pelosi gets in, who could she pick as VP and or her cabinet? And we could have a conversation about that. But the only one
AJ,
you're is. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, finish your thought.
Oh, the only other plug I'd like to do is have you start playing the speech that what's her name? I can't think of her name right now, unfortunately, that made the speech before we went into Gulf War II and said, Barbara Lee, that said that that speech was the only one like it. Was kind of like Wayne Morse during the Vietnam era, that stood alone and said, "Be careful, we're going to become everything that we're opposed to." And I think she was proven right. And she should
Barbara
get
Lee
the
was a
Speaker of
prophet.
the House. I'd like to see Pelosi hand her the gavel. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, AJ. You know, you're pushing the edges here in terms of imagining the future, but it's not inconceivable. And I think it's also, I mean, Nancy Pelosi's referred to this twice now in the last week and a half, and it's got Donald Trump freaked out. That there's a very good chance that after, you know, if he loses the 2020 election, by 2021 he's going to be in jail, along with the rest of the Trump crime family. And nothing could make me happier, frankly. Kathy in Tacoma, Washington. Your thoughts?
Hello, Tom. Thanks for taking my call.
Hi, Kathy. Sure.
Yes, I had a few thoughts. First of all, I think that the polling data, especially from MSNBC, is concocted. I don't think it's accurate at all. I think they're really pushing Biden for some reason. Sanders and Warren, for me.
If I may interrupt, Kathy, just at this point, one of the things that we know about polls this early is that the vast majority of people actually are not, you know, as knowledgeable as people who listen to this program, you know, about the candidates. And so mostly what the polls are measuring right now is name recognition. Back to you, Kathy.
Right. Good point. So we're not deciding until then, but clearly the media is playing down the strength of the Sanders-Warren potential. Natalie Jackson's interview, I hope that I appreciated that. I hope that she covers the sex abuse story that was covered this morning on NPR with the Southern Baptist. So now that's hitting the Southern Baptist. As far as the fascist comment by Hillary Clinton, it's about damn time. There's 14 characteristics that are widely accepted to be fascistic, and Trump hits all of them perfectly.
Yep.
And that's all about corrupt corporations and all of that stuff. So I'm glad that's fine that she's finally saying that. And as far as the censorship of the hearings yesterday was off the charts. Most young people and even some old people like myself, I'm a retired disabled senior. I'm a citizen journalist locally here in Tacoma on stories that are just vastly censored that are critical, like a PSC LNG plant that was built on Puyallup land in an earthquake zone and a Lahar zone, a tsunami zone. Without the permits, it's just in the plans all laid in secret with the city of Tacoma, which should have never been the lead agency for that. So Inslee has come out against the two frac gas projects ongoing in Washington right now, which are the LNG plant by Puget Sound Energy and the Port of Tacoma. The tank is already built, and they're well on their way to finishing it with no permit. So this is corporate fascism. This is corporate corruption right in our home, right in our front yard. It would not even be happening if our local press even began to cover the truth.
No,
about
I get all that,
there.
Kathy. So are you saying that Inslee is your guy for president? Because that's the topic that I'd like to stick to.
I'm saying, well, Inslee was quite a few years too late in coming around to opposing these frac gas, projects, and for PSC to keep running these lying ads talking about how much cleaner it burns and all that. That ignores fracking, and that the methane, fugitive methane emissions, and all along the way from the fracking wells.
Yeah.
Along
no,
the
I get it. I get it all, Kathy, and I'm totally with you. Kathy, I'm going to move along here. Thank you very much for the call and for sharing your thoughts with us. Neil in Stillwater, Minnesota. Neil, your thoughts? Who would you like to see running ultimately as the Democratic candidates or Democratic Party standard bearers?
Hi, Tom. I would like to see Bernie Sanders as president and Pete Buttigieg as vice president. I think they're both enthusiastic and politicians, and I think they'd appeal to a wide spectrum of the country.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Neil. And thanks for being concise. I appreciate it. Al in West Palm Beach, Florida. Al, your thoughts?
Hello, Tom. I would like either, Bernie and Liz Warren. My reason is they're both alphas, and that's my main concern. That two questions I would like asked during the debate, which I doubt will ever be asked, are all the policies that they have. How do you get them past a conservative Senate where the guy is a self-proclaimed Grim Reaper who says every Democratic policy that's going to be presented will be dead on arrival? Second question is, how would they handle on the day of the election, Trump decides the election is rigged and he refuses to step down? How would Democratic candidates handle this situation?
Yeah, this is a conversation I had yesterday with Lawrence Tribe, and he kind of threw up his hands and said, "That's it for the Republic. That's the end of our country as we know it." And I don't think that that's an impossible scenario, frankly. And it troubles me considerably. And of course, you know, who would be out in front of that would be Chris Kobach, saying that this is what's going on. And then it becomes, the question becomes, the Federal Marshal Service or the military, will they enforce the Constitution, or will they do what Donald Trump, the commander-in-chief, tells them to do? How do you think it's going to play out, Al, if that happens?
Well, the thing is, that's presenting the fascist part, but my other question is, because we saw it from 2008 through 2016, is what do you do when you have a bunch of people in the Senate saying, we want him as a one-term president, and we will turn down every piece of legislation that's submitted? We're seeing it right now with Pelosi, all the legislation she's passing. What good is electing a Democratic president if he can't get his policies and legislation through Congress?
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
I think the good is that if that Democratic president uses the bully pulpit, for example, the way Donald Trump is right now, and gets the message out every day, he can change America, or she can. And welcome back. Marianne in Raleigh, North Carolina. Hey, Marianne, thank you for watching Free Speech. Your thoughts on the Democratic primary?
Yes, thank you, Tom. Well, the couple that I get all excited about voting for would be Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris. I love their progressive ideas. I think they would do a great job. And I also would love to see it because I think Donald Trump would just lose his shizzle if he had to run against two very, very strong, highly intelligent women. I would love to see that.
Yeah.
And
I
then,
would too, and thank you for cleaning that up.
Well, yes. No, I really had no intention of saying anything bad. But fascism, yes, I am with Hillary. And I noticed that lately, the last, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, every time I see Trump and I hear him and he's on one of his rants, about the media and everything, and he's calling it fake news, I notice that I have fear. I feel fear, and which I didn't feel before. And I think that I'm just afraid for what could happen in the future.
I think we've got one whole foot into the fascist camp right now, and it scares the hell out of me too. But instead of cowering in fear, what it's doing for me is making me even more determined to get out there, to be talking to people, to try to provide a broad, widespread forum for as many people as possible, and to encourage people to share progressive media, not just my program. There's a lot of good progressive media out there with everybody they possibly can, because we've got to talk back basically to Fox News and right-wing hate radio. And Marianne, thank you for the call. Very, very well said and spot on. Let's see here. Melinda in Abiqua, New Mexico. Am I saying that right, Melinda?
Abiquiu. It's a weird word.
Abiquiu, thank you.
Yes. Hey, Tom, thanks for taking my call. And my choice has been forever Bernie Sanders. and then Tulsi Gabbard. The reason is they both have backbones like steel. They're strong. They take those slings and arrows without shifting. They are both strong enough to stand up to Trump and, the Republicans and also the Democrats, the corporate Democrats who are constantly trying to push her. They are true progressives, and I don't see them flip-flopping, either one of them. They've both given up a lot in order to stand really, really true to the principles that they stand for. And they are both able and willing to listen and entertain what the citizenry wants. They're able to change their mind, but they don't flip-flop. So I really like that.
Now,
I go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So, and I like Elizabeth Warren. I know she's more well-known. I've always liked Elizabeth Warren. I think she would make a great, a cabinet secretary. There's so many good cabinet members, and I think we're out of time. I can't really go into it, but the cabinet members are like beautiful.
Yeah, I agree, and when you compare it to the swamp creatures that Trump has, the grifters, literally, that he has in his cabinet, boy, we've got to do something here. Melinda, thank you for the call. Thank you very much for checking in with us. We'll be right back. Every day here on the Thom Hartmann Program, Louise and I and our team, Sean, Nate, Shira, Dave, Chase, Sue, Nigel, Ron, we all work to put together the very, very best show we possibly can. And there's an enormous amount of work that goes into the show. And one of the things that comes out of that is a lot of content, a lot of specific information that we go through and we dig out and, we want to share with you. And Sue puts that into our newsletter every week. And I think you will, if you don't already receive our newsletter, it comes in email every day, about an hour after we're off the air, or maybe a couple hours after we're off the air. And Sue goes through and pulls literally every link to every story that we talked about and puts it into the newsletter. It's free. We don't sell the list or anything. You complete safety and security. There's no charge. There's no nothing. Just, plug in your email address over at thomhartmann.com. And you get signed up for the newsletter. It's all fairly obvious. You'll see it on the website. So check it out, thomhartmann.com. Thank you.
Want to connect with the show online? You can find the Thom Hartmann Program on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. Just for our Portland listeners or people in the vicinity, a reminder that tomorrow night at 7:30, I will be at Powell's Bookstore in downtown Portland, one of the finest bookstores, I think the largest bookstore in the United States. It's if you ever come to Portland, plan on spending at least a half a day. And when I go down there, I'll spend a whole day at Powell's. It's just amazing. Luann, and also tonight is the premiere of Ice on Fire, the new HBO movie that Leonardo DiCaprio produced and narrated. I helped put it together. I'm in it. Lila Connors is the director. It's a brilliant piece of filmmaking. It's an hour and a half long. If you have an HBO subscription, you can watch it tonight, the premiere. If you don't have an HBO subscription, they're offering it at HBO Go and HBO Now tomorrow for people who are not subscribers. So check it out. It's going to be remarkable. Luann in Woodinville, Washington. Hey, Luann, what's on your mind today?
I'm for Elizabeth Warren for president and Jay Inslee for vice president. I think they'd be a fantastic team. Elizabeth Warren is a teacher, and when you listen to her at her rallies, she's teaching. And I think that's part of the reason people get so enthusiastic. She makes them understand what's going on. And then if she had Jay Inslee as the vice president, she could just hand over the climate change thing to him. He's very experienced in it. He's been a governor. He's been in Congress. He understands how it all works. And he's a big, attractive man that women, especially middle-class, older women, would feel safe with. I think that physical appearance does make a difference. Unfortunately, when you look at some of our past presidents, they've mostly been good-looking men. You take Barack Obama and Bill Clinton, and I know the elder Bush was considered a handsome man, and Ronald Reagan was. So you look at some of those things and put it all together, and I think you have a dream team. Clinton and Gore were very good. I don't know why the Democrats never published this and made it more known, but Gore reduced government. They reduced it by 24,000. They streamlined the government. It was the best effort that's ever been made in streamlining the government. So you get good partnerships like that. I think that Warren's financial acumen, her knowledge of so many things in general, I mean, she obviously is a brilliant woman. And I think that I don't want to do two women because I think that might be pushing it, but a woman and a man team I think would be very good.
I get it, Luann. And if you look at the Bush administration, the last Bush administration, that was the first real strong vice president. He put Dick Cheney in charge of torture and illegal murder and black sites and war. And Dick Cheney did a spectacular job at that. If you're a fan of that kind of stuff. And your idea of having a strong vice president with a singular focus is fascinating. Luann, thank you for the call. Kevin in Tracy, California. Kevin, your thoughts?
Yes, hi, Tom. I guess I would be prone towards Bernie and Elizabeth Warren, or maybe like the other way around. I don't know. And then I just also wanted to quickly say that it can't happen here, but it did, and it has.
Yeah. So you think fascism is here?
Yes, I think that, well, every time I talk to you, like I said, President and Trump don't go together. I can't call it a president. And, yeah, I think that it's slowly but surely sinking in, and I hope everybody wakes up.
Yeah, I'm with you. Thank you very much, Kevin, for the call. I do appreciate it. Brian in Dubuque, Iowa. Hey, Brian. Hey, you're at the epicenter of all this. I think half the candidates are living in Iowa now. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I just wanted to rattle off some names. I caught on Sunday the Iowa Democratic Party Hall of Fame dinner. It was pretty great, and there were so many candidates, I can't believe how many, and everybody had about 5 or 6 minutes to give their speech, so it was nice and pithy. And but a few names here: Jay Inslee, John Hickenlooper, Kristen Gillibrand, John Delaney, Marianne Williamson, Steve Bullock.
Yeah, all names that have not been outside of Marianne that have not been mentioned today. And we've got Brian. Thank you for the call. We've got some just absolutely great candidates. Thank you so much for being with us today. I'm going to hop on a plane and I'll be back with you tomorrow live from Portland, and then tomorrow night, of course, over at Powell's. So thank you again, and special thanks to Timon and Alex and all the great folks here at We Act Radio for letting us use their studio for 2 days, and to Timon Freeman for introducing me last night at Busboys and Poets. It was an honor. And to you, don't forget, democracy is not a spectator sport. It requires all of us. So get out there, get active, tag.
You've been listening to Thom Hartmann. For audio and video archives, visit thomhartmann.com.